And good morning. It is a Friday edition of GCR. I am Glenn. He is Griffin. And if it's Friday, that means our friend Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How did we miss each other yesterday out at Fair Hills?
When you did the math for me, it's almost impossible that we missed ech other.
Yeah.
I arrived at about 2 o'clock. Now, it was a little later, so I'll have you know.
Now that I know you were out there that early, I was out watching the dressage, and I don't have, I guess I technically could push it. I don't have a reserve seat. I have a media pass. I was watching it way out in center field because you can still see what you have to see.
Oh, okay.
So, but I was really in an isolated place.
So I got there at 2. Truth be told, coming up later in the program, we're going to be joined by the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. And
he was there too?
Unfortunately, this is not a Mike Tirico situation. He was happy to talk with you, but he could only talk at 2 o'clock yesterday.
Okay.
And so I have this new thing that you guys might hear sometimes where to allow Griffin to book guests whenever, because it is very difficult to do, and I've got to still go do things in my life.
Right.
I got a headset so that if I'm out somewhere and somebody says I could talk right now, I can throw the headset on, hop on Zoom, record the conversation, and we can air it the next day. So that's what had to happen. So I'm sitting in the car at Fair Hill
with your headset
with
on.
my headset on, doing a conversation with Kurt Warner. So I didn't walk in until about 2:30. I walk in, and as soon as I walk in, the first person I see is our friend John Maroon and Mike, Twyname. I don't remember how to pronounce Mike's last name.
Yeah, he gave me a lift yesterday. Mike gave me a lift on the golf court.
Yeah, so
people love golf carts at those.
They do.
They have such power.
So, well, I tell you, as soon as I got there, John said, "Hey, do you want to go? I want to go see the cross country course. Do you want to go out with us?"
Right.
And I said, "Sure. Why? I don't know really what I'm doing here. I'd love to." Stan,
Did you jump over some of the jumps?
I
did yesterday.
Yeah, you
John Maroon said,
well, maybe you could pass the agility.
I fell and was in the hospital.
Maybe you could pass the agility test with the Baltimore County Police Department.
Not happening.
So he gets out there to show them to me, and I'm looking at a couple of them. I'm like, this is legitimately crazy.
Yeah.
Like, this is bonkers. What some of these riders and horses are going to be doing on Saturday. Yeah. This is nuts. So
it's good that you gave some credit to the horse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the Maryland 5-Star is this weekend out at Fair Hill in Cecil County. Would encourage you to get out there. Yeah. It's a great event. Fair Hill is beautiful. This was my first time really seeing it all set up for the 5-Star.
And this is its third year. They've gotten a lot of the amenities really down now.
Yeah, was really impressed. But I actually went up and went to the VIP area and was looking around. I got a whole tour. It was very cool, and would really encourage you to get out and support that.
And the weather is supposed to be really turn nice tomorrow. I think it's supposed to clear out about 10 or 11 in the morning. And it's supposed to be a little windy, I think, but it's going to be
a nice fall day.
Really nice, yeah.
I love that.
It is absolutely gorgeous out there.
Busy day on tap. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Mike Nolan, former Ravens defensive coordinator, will join us. He's going to tell us all about Terrell Suggs, of course, who goes into the Ravens Ring of Honor this weekend. Later on this morning, our friend Bo Smolka, Pressbox Ravens beat writer. As I mentioned, the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. And we will wrap up today's show by listening to segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with special guest Jadeveon Clowney. All of that on tap here on GCR. Stan needs to get ready for the agility test because we're only 8 days away from the Baltimore County Police Department's public hiring event. Next Saturday, we will be at the Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road in Towson. It is a community and hiring event. So if you're not thinking about joining the Baltimore County Police Department, this is still a good day for you for a couple of reasons. One, there are a lot of people in the community who, frankly, don't have a lot of trust in the police. I think it's a topic that we have discussed for a few years now, and the Baltimore County Police Department understands that. They're not trying to fight it. They're not trying to say you're a bad person for feeling that way. They're saying, how do we fix it? How do we improve that moving forward? How do we work together? And that's why when they do these events, they want to invite the community. They want you to just come out. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation about
My suggestion would be less tickets.
That would be good news. I would agree with that in general.
At least when you or I are pulled over.
Maybe we get like a rule that the two of us never have to worry about that. That would go a long way. A long way. It's also a chance for you to get your kids in their costumes and take them out for a nice, safe trunk or treat event. So I'd encourage you to get out there for that. But if you are thinking about a career in the Baltimore County Police Department, then this is a really great opportunity for you to go through the entire process. Written test, agility test, application process, all of it. You can do that on site next Saturday. You can find out more by going to joinbaltimorecountypd.com or by giving them a call, 410-887-5542.
So Mike Nolan at 10:20.
Yes, Mike
Who
Nolan
else we got
today?
I guess we got Bo Smolka.
Yeah, Bo's going to join us. Yeah, we just went over the list. Yeah, we did. We added Steve Doherty, right, from the Maryland Athletic Hall of Fame. Absolutely, going to do that this morning too.
That's right. You did mention the Kurt.
It's all good. It's all good, Stan. All good.
I was still trying to find that video.
Oh, of the tag
last night when the pickoff guy on first base tagged the guy's glove.
To the point, the championship series have completely flipped on their head, obviously, in the last couple of days. I'm still not fully convinced that the Diamondbacks can win that series. That, to me, yesterday was the story of someone pitching the game of their life. And this is Jose Altuve that you're going to show me.
And he's getting his.
You're looking at a Canadian website. We're not allowed to watch that.
Oh,
sorry.
Goodness.
I thought it was a guy pitching the game of his life, combined with a strike zone that was very favorable to the pitchers yesterday, and I think that went to benefit the Diamondbacks. Now, still give them credit because when they blew the opportunity after they pulled Fott in the sixth.
Yeah, they tied it and then had first and third.
Well, I would say even before that, when they blew the opportunity to go ahead in the sixth,
right,
and then it was still 0-0 going to the seventh, I thought they would root that would be that. Right. And then when they fell behind 1-0, I said, well, forget it. Yeah. Like it's over. So I give them a ton of credit because down 2-0 in the series, now down in a game where they had gotten a masterpiece from Fott, I was convinced that it was over, and they still managed to dig in despite wasting a few runner on third, one-out opportunities and grind out a win. All the credit in the world of the Diamondbacks. I'm just still not very convinced that they can win that series. The American League thing to me, this is I never know why anyone writes off the Astros. I'll never understand why anyone would write off the Astros. There is too much there. They have too many professional hitters, guys that have been in this situation before, and I get it. Abreu maybe isn't necessarily one of them, and yet he was the one that came through with the big 3-run home run last night. I'll never, for the life of me, understand why we write off and think that the Astros are dead. They have been in just about every situation that you can possibly – their core has been in just about every situation you could possibly be in the playoffs over the years, and all they ever do is continue to fight back and make it very difficult to kill them.
What was the year that it wasn't 72? It must have been 74. Was that the year that Bill Walton's Trailblazers, I think they beat the Sixers. And I'll never forget my late friend Sandy Pressman, who liked to bet occasionally on sports prior to it being legal.
People did that stuff?
Yeah, back in the 70s and 60s and 50s, yeah. And they used to fix games, too.
Well, they don't have to do that anymore because they can go to Superbook.
That's right.
And they can use the code Glenn Clark 23 or Stan Charles 23.
And
they'll get up to, not only will they be able to do it legally, they get free bets. They can get up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. So, man, what a world. Life has changed.
So the Portland Trailblazers were down 2-0. And I'll never forget Sandy saying, I love the Trail. And I go, what? He goes, this is when you love a team and they fall behind 2-0. Now, probably if he did this every time it happened, he would have lost
more than he won. Right?
But I always remembered that, him really loading up because the odds flip. You know, the Astros were favored to win this series.
Of course they were.
And then they were plus 400 after falling behind 2-0. Now how are you feeling?
You know? If you got in at plus 400, you're feeling great right now.
The amazing thing, though, is, and by the way, it's been a week since we last talked. I'm not saying I've fallen in love with Derek Jeter. He's been much better this week. Much better. His content, his
All right.
personality.
I'll
is coming
admit
out
to
a
you,
little-
I don't think I've watched as much of the post game shows
Yeah, I've
in the
caught
last.
him a little bit. He's decent. I still don't love the chemistry between the three of them, but he's okay. He was touting Texas because of Houston's problem winning at home, but the problem with that theory was, Texas won the first two in Houston, but Texas has absolutely killed them out there in Texas this
Right.
year. The Astros have killed the Rangers, and they got one more there. They can take the lead in that series today. Well, whoever wins takes the lead 3-2. It's Verlander versus
Montgomery
again.
It reminds. This is very reminiscent of the 2019 World Series, of course, where the Astros lost the two at home to the Nationals, then turned around, won all three in D.C., and of course they ended up losing in the most bizarre World Series in human history. They turned around and lost the two again at home, and it's the World Series where every game was won by the road team, which is one of the most inexplicable things in the history of baseball. I don't know how it'll play out, but to your point, the Astros now are favorites again because 2 out of the 3 games left would be at home, so they get the slight edge
And
there.
Jeter would say, and pointed out rightly at the beginning of the series, Astros, and I didn't realize that, are
Not a
under
good,
500.
Yep,
at
not a good
this
home
year.
team. Minus 125 for the Astros now, according to Superbook. The Phillies are minus 425 to still hang on and beat the Diamondbacks despite losing Game 3. They'll go in opposite order today. It'll be the American League game first in the afternoon at 5 o'clock, followed by the National League game tonight, as all of a sudden just a little bit more interesting than things looked a couple of days ago in the championship round. Stan, the other news in baseball yesterday, relevant for us locally, and I just wanted to get you to give your thoughts about it. There's
You may be telling me something I don't know at all, so go ahead. I don't mind.
I'm sure there was a committee announcement for the Hall of Fame this year.
No. Okay.
Are you not? You weren't familiar with this?
Wasn't
Okay.
familiar. Okay.
So there's, and in fact, Jim Henneman, our own Jim Henneman, is part of the group that chooses the candidates for this particular committee. This is the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee for Managers, Executives, and Umpires.
Okay.
So, like all these other committees, they will meet at the winter meetings, which are in Nashville this year. We had a heck of a time when the winter meetings were in Nashville. Maybe we should run it up the flagpole. That was a good location for the winter meetings when we went down there the last. Remember, I walked in on Tommy Lasorda eating ribs in the corner of it. It was one of my favorite.
You walked in on?
I walked into this. I went out one night. I was invited out by our friend Steve Gorman from the Black Crows. He said, "Hey, there's this live music venue," and right by where Stan and I were staying, on the corner, there was a place called John A's, which we got a kick out of because of John Angelos, right?
That's where we broke the rumor.
Right, they were moving to Nashville because he already owned this restaurant
Right,
that was on the
John
corner,
A's.
seedy restaurant.
right? And I walk in just wanting a sweet tea. That's all I wanted was a sweet tea for the. I'm like, I'm in Nashville. I could get a sweet tea for the road, I bet. So I walk in and I walk up to the bar. I'm like, I just want a sweet tea. And the guy says, sure. He said, you baseball fan? I said, yeah, I like baseball. He said, look over there. And I look over, and Tommy Lasorda
Going to town?
with this giant plate of
Wow.
ribs right in front of him, just going to town. There was a folk band on playing Will the Circle Be Unbroken? I mean, it was just one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. I said, I want to move into this seedy restaurant.
He was
I wanna
there.
live
It's
here.
totally different. I wasn't with you, but he was
Yeah.
there when I went in.
And I remember you telling me that this was just his place, apparently, John A's.
Not anymore.
Yeah, sadly.
See what happens when you eat a plate
You
of
think
ribs late night?
you think it was the ribs that killed Tommy Lasorda? You think that was his undoing?
I had ribs about a month ago, and I'm a rib person, but these were the real kind of thick ones, and I ate about 4 ribs, and it felt like I had like meat in between.
Oh yeah,
in between my
yeah.
teeth. So I'm like trying to get my tongue to pull it out, like then I pull over and I get some dental floss.
Yeah.
And the thing's never coming out. It turns out they were so strong, those ribs, that my tooth kind of moved over and was touching the other tooth.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Gosh.
Might want to go to John A's for your ribs instead. Now, they
Powerful.
might kill you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
I love the ribs at the Costas Inn. Never had that problem there.
I don't know that I've ever had the ribs. I've had so many things at the Costas Inn. I don't know that I've ever had their
Very
ribs.
Good choice. You know,
All
very
right.
good.
All right. I will.
Very solid.
I'll go that route. Here's the list. 8 candidates that were announced.
Okay.
Typically with these committees, 1, maybe 2 tend to get in.
Okay.
First one. I won't go in alphabetical order. I'll start with the relevant names locally.
Don Mattingly?
Not Don Mattingly. Relevant to us.
Okay.
First one, Davy Johnson.
Go ahead.
Davy Johnson, of course, managed 17 seasons after his playing career. I guess they're supposed to look over his entire baseball life
Right.
when they consider that, even though the
Right.
specific committee is for managers, executives, and umpires. Also relevant to us, Hank Peters, a nominee for this class for the Hall of Fame, of course, helping the Orioles to win the World Series in 1983 as general manager. Name that's relevant to us, but not popular in Baltimore. In fact, when you say his name, it normally in this town is followed by the word sucks. Cito Gaston is on this list. Of course, led the Blue Jays to World Series titles in 92 and
Back-to-back,
93.
Yeah.
Another World Series champion winning manager, Jim Leland, is on this list. Also, someone who I think, to me, is the most likely candidate on the list. To me, if I had to set betting odds, he would be the closest to a favorite. Sweet Lou Piniella is on this list. And then some umpires. Cowboy Joe West is on the list. And Ed Montague is on the list.
Well, Ed
And
Montague stands out the fact that he doesn't stand out.
Right, the fact that we don't immediately hate him,
couldn't
right?
Tell you any major thing.
That's
Joe West, in my opinion, was one of the worst umpires I ever saw
not
behind the plate.
not Angel Hernandez, but not.
He's right in that.
Yeah.
Those two stand alone.
Yep.
You know.
And then someone who again did a lot of things throughout his career in baseball, Bill White, who
He was an amazing player,
a heck of a player,
broadcaster, and a league president.
Yep,
Yeah.
correct. So if you had to rank maybe a top 3 on your list of this group, who would be the 3 to you that you would go to war for most in the room?
Probably Piniella 1, Leland 2, Bill White 3.
Okay.
And who was the first? Dave Johnson 4.
Okay.
Probably in that order. I think Johnson's. I just think Piniella is really the standout for me.
I agree with that.
As a player and as a difference maker at times in his managerial career. Managed that great Seattle team,
Yep,
right?
absolutely.
That won
Was he still there at that point?
I'm pretty sure he was.
You might be right about that. I know he managed the teams in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was still there in 01, but I'll double check. He might have been. You might be
I
right about
don't-
that. Manager.
been
No, he would have been. Yep,
yeah.
because he was in Seattle till 02.
Right.
So
And then
you're correct.
he's the one that first brought Tampa
Yes.
up a notch, that set it in motion for Joe Madden.
Yep.
And you went, why are these Tampa? Pinella's years there were progressing a little bit. You know?
Ironically, like his shortest tenure as a manager is what he's most associated with because he won the World Series with the Cincinnati Reds in 1990. But it was of all of his stints as a manager, it was his shortest one,
Yeah.
only spending 3 years in Cincinnati. I agree with you that Piniella is the most slam dunk to me like there's a part of me that says, how is Lou Piniella not already in the Hall of Fame?
I'll be honest with you. To me, I throw like a little bit of a blanket over the 3 that I mentioned, Piniella, Leland, and White. White's importance to me, one of the first, maybe the first. He was a play-by-play announcer for the Yankees for about a dozen years. And that was an important role for a black and African-American to take.
You know, we
'cause
can.
There's so few of them.
Far be it from me to be a guy that says something about Cito Gaston in this town.
Right.
But much like Tony Dungy got in before Tony Dungy got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame before Jimmy Johnson did.
Right.
And I do wonder if at some point there is some sort of significance to saying this was the first ever black manager to win a World Series. we should probably recognize that in the way that we view his candidacy and the significance of what that meant for baseball beyond just like it's significant enough that he won 2 World Series.
It's a good reason that I think White will get in. I think they will be observant of race in that, and it does play a part. Look, Gaston had a pretty darn good managerial career. Not great. Certainly would have been liked a lot better in this town had he
just put Mike Messina in the effing game.
Yeah.
It's an exhibition game. Maybe put the guy in
from the hometown
instead of Dwayne Ward.
Right.
Maybe you just do that. Doesn't seem like it'd be all that difficult. Yeah. I think that I'm largely in agreement with your list too. Like Jim Leland's an interesting one because I don't know that he has to be in the Hall of Fame, but I also don't know as your managers why he wouldn't be worthy of the Hall of Fame.
He won a championship
with the Marlins. Yes,
right?
Correct. Him and Jack McKeon were the Marlins managers when they won their World Series titles.
So, yeah, he's very much like Earl Weaver without the couple World Series.
That's a fair.
Actually, Earl only
won the one. Yeah,
Series.
Exactly right. And yet he got in. So
Yeah.
that's a fair standard, right? If Earl Weaver's in,
Yeah.
then what's the real difference between an Earl Weaver and a Jim
Love
Leland?
to see the difference in their winning percentage. His tough time was when he went out to Colorado.
Oh yeah,
where they sort of said, "Hey, now we got, in addition to spending pretty good money on our roster, we've got a top tier manager," and he didn't do much at all out there.
To your point, I forgot he was only there for the one season
in Colorado.
Yeah, he went 72 and 90 in that one season. He finished basically at 500, just over 500. 1769 and 1722 was his
career
record. In fairness, Bruce Bochy's a Hall of Famer, and I don't even know if he's at 500 for his career.
Right, for the years
now, that's the difference.
San
He
Diego,
won 3 World Series, so that's a completely different story. We'll find out if Davy Johnson at the baseball meetings.
At John A's.
Correct. They'll get together at John A's with a plate of ribs and decide who's in the Hall of Fame.
Forget talking running up. Why don't we just drive there?
Just to go to John
Overnight
A's
to
and
John
then
A's.
come back?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it.
See if John A. will meet us there.
I'm not opposed to it. All right, Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us this morning. Speaking of honors this weekend, there will be another honor that'll be given out. It'll be the Ring of Honor, and Terrell Suggs will go into the Ring of Honor for the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. Joining us now here on GCR, former Ravens defensive coordinator and NFL head coach. He is Coach Mike Nolan, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn Clark. Stan Charles is in studio with me this morning. Always appreciate you taking some time for us. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Sure, Glenn. Sure, Stan. Yeah, nice to be on with you.
Coach, I wonder if you could take me back to 2003 and the draft process and how much input you had, if you were in love with Terrell Suggs, if you said, this guy had 1 million sacks in college, we got to have him, or if maybe you would be honest and say, I don't know if he was even the guy that I really wanted at that point.
I don't know if the story's been told yet, but back when the year we drafted Terrell, he had a workout plan down at ASU, Arizona State, where he'd gone to school, and everyone was looking forward to it. And we went down there, and everyone wanted to know what his time was going to be from the 40. For whatever reason, I can't remember that, but I know that was an important part of being drafted. Everyone knew he was going to be a top 10 player. So anyway, I went down to the workout, and he didn't know how to run at all, and he ran like a 4.86 or something like that, almost a 4.9 40, which everyone thought for sure he'd run easily a 4.6. And I'll say this, he certainly played at a 4.6 all the time, but he actually didn't know how to run. I mean, when they started his 40, he stood straight up and then started to run. So he came out of it with a really bad time. And everybody walked away from the workout kind of thinking, oh, wow, the time was not near what we thought it was going to be. And they're really disappointed. But Phil Savage was a scout with the Ravens at the time. And he and I both were walking in the parking lot. And I remember we passed each other. And Phil looked at me and said, you know what? He said, I think we were picking at 10. He said, we got a chance to get this guy. And because before that, we thought, he wasn't going to fall to us because Arizona was picking real high. And naturally, he was a hometown boy. So everyone thought he would go there. But sure enough, in the draft, another thing that happened was, so the draft comes about a month or so later, and we think we still might have a chance to get him, but we weren't really sure. But anyhow, that was the year that there was a trade in the first top 10 between Minnesota and someone else to try and get the quarterback from Marshall.
Byron Leftwich. Yep, absolutely.
Yes, and they fouled it all up, and they went over the time, and everybody started scrambling to throw their picks in, because if you pass when you're picking in the draft, the next team can immediately take their guy. They don't wait for you if your 10 or 15 minutes has gone by. So immediately teams were jumping in real fast, and as it turned out, it kind of caused a tumble effect where Terrell came down to us, and we got him, I think it was 10, but we got him at 10, and had that not happened, two things, had he not run the poor 40, and had there not been that kind of that foul up within the draft, I don't know that we'd have gotten him at 10 like we did. So we were really lucky and fortunate to get him. Now, outside of that, I'm pretty sure everybody was on the same page that if he fell to us, I think everyone in the room, Ozzie and Eric and everybody, all the coaches, everybody was on board for Terrell. We just didn't think we were going to get him when we were picking, but sure, it turned out that he did. But I remember the 40 distinctly was something that really hurt him at the time, and it was only because he had no idea how to run. Nobody really coached him up on how to run. It's kind of like a track man. If you don't know how to run, you're not going to win the race, and that hurt him. But anyhow, that's really what went down on the day of the draft, and again, leading up to it, those were some of the things that helped us get him.
Mike, how unique is it to have a player like Suggs when you already have a Ray Lewis, who is clearly, using the vernacular, the alpha dog, and then you get Suggs, who became like really, I find that very rare that you get a second alpha dog on the same team. How did that help the defense that you had those two in sort of insane personalities?
Well, the truth be told, there was only one alpha dog in the Raven locker room, and that was Ray.
Yeah.
Anybody else that walked in, because we had Ed Reed on our team also.
That's a good point.
And so there was, that defense was full of leaders. But at the time, when Terrell came in, Terrell was not really as serious. I think he had played off of just God-given talent most of the time when he was a young kid, certainly in college. And when he came in, he really was. He wasn't as serious about football as a lot of guys. Things came very easy for him. We had him in the linebacker meeting rooms when he first got there. We were in a 3-4, which is what they stayed most of the years after that. But I remember Ozzie coming to me and kind of feeling like Terrell really wasn't getting what he needed in that room. And with that in mind, we kind of moved him over to the defensive line room. This is his first year. We moved him to the defensive line room with Rex, and Rex really did a great job with I think T. Sizzle, which is what they obviously they called Terrell. I think he would agree with the fact that when he went over that Rex was really a huge part in his early development to becoming a really good player. And I remember we did it about mid-season. We moved him from the linebacker room to the D-line room because we were using him primarily as a pass rusher anyway in his early years. And Rex did just a remarkable job with honing in on his skills. And that was really, a lot of, like I said, a lot of credit goes to Rex in the development of Terrell in his early years. So, but as far as personality goes, I don't think he really took over from a leadership standpoint until Ray and Ed had kind of parted the team. That's when Terrell was really enabled himself to kind of step into that role.
Great point, Mike.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coach, Mike Nolan is with us here on GCR. Coach, one of the things that stands out, and again, I don't know how much of it you fully experienced because it wasn't much longer after that, of course, that you took the head coaching job out in San Francisco. But the story, what you just said about Terrell, when he arrived, he's basically just a pass rush specialist. And then by the time his career was over, what was maybe the most underappreciated part about Terrell Suggs was he became a complete linebacker. I mean, you could put him in coverage, and he was handling himself throughout the course of his career. How impressed were you by the evolution of Terrell Suggs, both what you saw when you still had him and then what you watched from afar as you continued on in the NFL, and how he became this utterly complete player from just being a pass rush specialist when he arrived?
That's a great point because we coached them I was there for 2 more years and coached them. And then I went to the 49ers, and I remember watching him from afar, and I was really pleased to see because he's really a good kid, and I was pulling for him all the time. But he got, like you said, he became a complete player, and I don't think it was just the abilities that he showed on the field and playing and being versatile. I think it was as much as just his maturity of being around guys like Ray and Ed, who really took football seriously. Because, like I said early on, he was just a happy, go play, have a great time. Life is great. He was that kind of guy when he first got there, and I think the fact that he got so much, he got serious about his craft, and I tell you, it was a pleasure, obviously, to watch him. It's always nice when you coach, good guys, and they mature and become as good as he did, But he's always had a lot of talent. It was just a matter of, I'll say this, had he not gone to the Ravens, I don't know that he would have achieved as much as he did, just because of the mindset of the defense that was there and the guys he was around. People like Ray and Ed raised a lot of people's level as far as being professionals. And I think Sizzle, he benefited a ton from being around those two guys. Not just him, but everybody else as well. But it enabled him to really grow as a player and be what he became.
Did you like the freakishness part of it? And you pointed out, obviously, he had the disappointing 40 at the pro day, but what he had done in college was insane. Were you convinced that the freakishness, just the sheer athleticism, size, all of that, would always play for him to be successful no matter what?
Yeah, I think so, because he was he was a big, thick, big-boned kind of guy. He wasn't a small guy. He wasn't a guy that pumped himself all up, to get big. He was naturally a big man. And his tape, like we said, he ran every bit of a 4.6 or faster when he played the game. So when he did have the slow time at his workout, it shocked a lot of people. But for us, we got real excited, as I've already told you. So, but again, very, with all that talent that he had and being around the guys that he was, it was just a matter of time. But I don't know how many years. What did Terrell play in the end? What, he played 15, 14 years? Or more?
Yeah, he was in the league.
16?
Yeah, through 19. Yeah, so 16 years.
Yeah, he played a very long time. Yeah, so look, you have to have a lot of God-given talent to last that long with the beating that it takes on your body. But he played in a lot of big games. He helped the team win a lot of big games. He won a Super Bowl naturally. There's a lot of good things while Sizzle was there.
Hey, I got to ask you, I know Glenn had you on to talk about Sizzle, but whenever I think the name Mike Nolan, I think of your dad, Dick Nolan, because when I was becoming a football fan, he was always on the sidelines there. And then when I think of him, I think of John Brody. I'm wondering, how old were you when your dad was coaching Brody, and what kind of relationship did you have with John Brody?
We moved to California for my father to be the head coach there in 1968. I was 9 years old.
Okay.
We stayed there for 8 or 9 years. I think he was the head coach for 9 years.
Yep.
Maybe my father was 8 years, something like that. But so again, I became my early teens. I think I was about 16 or 17 when he was fired. So again, I was a teenager. I got to know the players pretty well, as a matter of fact, as a kid. I was always kind of a locker room kid, that was always hanging around, helping out to hand out jock socks and T-shirts and things like that. And so I got to know the players pretty good. But I will say, as far as John Brody goes, he was a very mature, older player when my dad got the team. And, my interaction with him was more just watching him play. He was also a Stanford guy, and John Brody was, he was a golfer off the field, and I was kind of just a little kid. So, but John was a very good player. I thought their relationship was as any head coach would be with a quarterback. It had its good days and its not so good days. But John was a great player on that team. They had three. They went to the playoffs 3 years, the championship game 2 out of the 3, and it was ended by Dallas all 3 years in the playoffs. Dallas was the team that beat them, but John Brody, like I said, was a very good player. You had Gene Washington, was his wide receiver, and several other guys over the years. But they had some really good years in the early 70s, and then they kind of fell off the map until about 10 years later, or about 5 or 6 years later. I think they came back, and that's when
When Bill
That's when
Walsh
they had that
got
catch
there,
in the
yeah.
back. Yeah, the Bill Walsh area started about 5 years after my father left.
I think I went to a Jock Socks and T-shirts party in college. I'm pretty sure I was at one of those things. Coach, before we let you go, I saw you got back in. Just when they thought you were out, you got back in. You were involved with the USFL this year and coaching in Michigan. What was that experience like? And how good did you think the talent was that you were working with out there?
I love the experience. I'm looking forward to this year going back. We've got the merger talk going on right now, so Let's see what happens with all that. But the experience was very good. I mean, I enjoyed the people that were in there. It's a kind of a minimal. We have only 8 coaches on the staff, but our objective is to try and be a feeder to the NFL. We're trying to get our guys to the league, and on our team, we have a little better than about 40 players. And we had 20 guys get workouts in the NFL, which is pretty good. Of our 40 plus guys, when we had 10 of them go to training camp and 5 of them stuck on teams, they're all on practice squad. But for me, I felt pretty good about that. I thought with our first year in with our guys, but a great experience, great league. I think the talent in the league is good, and I believe it'll only get better if the merger does occur, because I think once that happens, the NFL can I think identify with us, and we can start to work together possibly. And I think that's what would happen in the long run. And when that happens, and we're being used by the NFL, I think with a lot of their players, that I think that really just improves the talent that we have. Because right now, like I was just saying, how many guys we have, but that would only increase or maybe even double if this merger thing occurs. Because like I said, then the NFL can kind of can identify with us. Right now, I think there's still a little hang up if there's 2 leagues as far as the NFL choosing sides. And this way, it'd just be one entity. And so, but anyway, I think it's good football. The guys are all in it. The coaches are in it. It's really a lot of fun. I really do. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed any coaching I've ever done.
That's cool.
Coach, I'll be 72 in January. Any chance you need like a water boy or a ball boy?
Or Jack Socks and T-shirts, right?
Hey, at 72, you might be offensive coordinator.
Mike Nolan, it's so good to catch up with you, sir. Have missed chatting with you this last couple of years and having you here in town. Great to hear your voice, my friend. Continued success in the USFL. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm always here for you guys, too, if you want to talk.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Mike Nolan, one of the best. Appreciate him taking the time for us. Of course, Stan brings up Dick Nolan, Maryland legend Dick Nolan,
right.
of course.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back in, Press Box Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka will get ready for Sunday and the big Ravens-Lions showdown, which is still a weird sentence to say. Stan, you had a busy week this week. You caught up with not only Ross and Luke,
but
also
then I talked to Buck Davidson,
yes,
one of the riders. He's riding
in the 5-star. Are we allowed to say that on the radio?
Sakura Maya.
All right.
And I saw him yesterday do the dressage with him.
Cool.
Buck Davidson.
Cool.
And then last night I talked to Mike Gibbons.
Babe Ruth
about
Museum.
The Babe Ruth Museum, the special. It's not. I don't want to make you go 100 miles out of your way, but if you are thinking about seeing something that's poignant to Brooks Robinson, they got a nice little exhibit that they put up there for Brooks Robinson, and he's also a member of the nominating committee for the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame, and we talked about the show coming up, the banquet coming up, the Hall of Fame induction, which includes Dominic Dawes, Adrian Dantley, Harold Solomon, and we're going to talk to Steve Doherty, the executive director, coming up at 11:20.
But you can find all those shows, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Bo Smolka next, Glenn Clark Radio.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The Maryland 5-Star returns to iconic Fair Hill October 19th to 22nd, marking the next chapter in Maryland's equestrian tradition. Best described as the triathlon of horse eventing, you won't want to miss this thrilling sport. Enjoy a fall festival with local fare, retail vendors, and tons of family fun. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront with vibrant small towns and accommodations to suit every desire. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 7th at Guilford Home Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by A.J. Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, heating and air conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox Fantasy Football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR. It is a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us. Project Game Day returns this Sunday following Ravens-Lions. Join myself, Rita, Femi Ayambadejo, and a cast of characters as we react to whatever occurs in Sunday's game. It's all brought to you by A.J. Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. You can find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline to watch the show. Project Game Day Sunday, and every game day this season we will be with you. Make sure you come join us and check us out. Stan, you and I not feeling great about the Ravens, at least on the betting line on Sunday.
No, this is the toughest game of the season so far. I still feel good about our picks when we picked them against the Colts and the Steelers.
Yeah, we made the right pick. They screwed it up.
Yeah, they screwed it up.
Right.
You know, that makes me feel
I
like
stand
my
by
betting
that.
history
Right.
in all sports.
It's not on me. It's on them.
Me.
Right.
This one is one of the tougher Ravens games that I grinded at coming to a decision, but I ended up thinking Just too many poor decisions in the coaching department for me.
This man is not involved on the betting side of things, but I want to ask him the question about why the Ravens should be favored, because I think that's one of the things that Stan and I struggled with this week. Joining us now, our Press Box Ravens beat writer. He is Bo Smolka, and he's back with us on GCR. Bo, I know gambling is not your thing, but I have struggled all week with the idea that the Ravens are 3-point favorites, and I get it. You can say, hey, they should be 6-0 at this point, and but they're not. They've lost 2 games, and they've struggled in the second half, and the Lions are in every way legit. Does it make sense to you that the Ravens are favored by 3 points going into Sunday?
Well, first of all, I love horse racing, but I don't gamble on team sports. I wasn't allowed to when I worked in college, and I just haven't.
Yeah.
To answer your question, maybe it's the home field thing. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can make an argument the Lions have played better and deserve to be favored. John Harbaugh was asked about that earlier this week, about, is it worth 3 points at home? And does that mean these teams are essentially viewed as equals? Maybe. I mean, the Ravens could be 6-0, but like we said before, the old Barcel's on. You are what your record says you are, and this team is flawed enough that they're not. And so I think you can certainly make an argument that the Ravens should not be favored. But, yeah, they're home, and that certainly carries some weight.
Bo, the second half thing, and some of the numbers have been shared out this week. In the first half of games this season, they are one of the most successful offenses in all of football. And I get that to some extent the numbers should change when you lead games in the second half, but I don't think it should start changing in the third quarter. I don't think it should, that part of it. What do you make of their struggles to hold on to leads, to keep their foot on the gas, and how much that needs to change moving forward for this football team?
Yeah, right. It's been really interesting. We can think of a couple games where they were just so effective right out of the gate, and whether it's the 20 scripted plays or whatever they might have, but they fully operate in the first 2 or 3 drives, and then it kind of goes away. And I know we asked Lamar Jackson about that this week, and he said, well, they're making adjustments. Well, I mean, if they're making adjustments, then you need to make adjustments. That's pretty obvious. So someone's doing something right to stop them, and the Ravens are not adjusting as well. And why that is a fair question, but it's been noticeable. I hadn't known the numbers till I also saw them this week. I didn't realize how dramatic it was, but it does. It just feels like at certain times, like the offense specifically just kind of stalls, and whether it's execution with a fumble or an interception or just not moving the ball, not converting third downs, things are changing. And I can't put my finger on exactly specifically what, but to hear Lamar Jackson say, well, other teams are adjusting, that's not good enough, because if they're doing it and stopping you, then you better do something to change that. And at times, it hasn't.
Bo, this week, would it be fair to say that the Lions are playing as good a defense as the Ravens will have faced at this point this season?
I mean, when they played the Browns were head and shoulders the number 1 defense in the league. Now, I know it was early and things are skewed by maybe a couple weeks, and ratings those first couple weeks are kind of odd. But the Browns have consistently stayed right up there as one of the best defenses in the league. So I don't know if I'd say that. The Browns, by all metrics, have been really, really good. And the Ravens stared them down and ran over them. You remember, they got to the red zone 4 times, and they scored all 4 times. And so that was impressive. But, yeah, the Lions defense is good. I don't know if I'd put them better than Cleveland or how to quantify that, but they're going to have to execute like they did against Cleveland to win.
Bo Smolka, Press Box Ravens beat writer, is with us here on GCR. Bo, I think what's interesting to me about the offensive issues is it seems like, well, you can also point out turnovers have been a problem and the fumbles, but it feels like the biggest issue is they're not the only success they're having running the football consistently is when Lamar Jackson runs the football. And it's so bizarre because we're coming out of a period where the Ravens' greatest success offensively was running the football. I don't know if it's a personnel problem. I don't know if it's up front. Can you dissect why it is? I think most people are pretty good with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, have liked in doses what they've seen from those guys this year. Do you have a sense for why they're not having more consistent success running the ball with their running backs this year?
without going back and watching all these plays, it just seems there's times they're getting beaten up front.
Yeah.
And for example, I think I haven't done the numbers crunching, but it strikes me that Gus Edwards is being hit at the line or for a loss way more this year than he has in previous years. And maybe that's partly the line, maybe it's part Gus Edwards, maybe it's part the blocking schemes, whatever it is. But that, I think, between the tackles, they are just not getting the surge or the holes that they had in the past. And I know we've often viewed Gus Edwards as the between the tackles back, and Justice Hill is more of a edge running back and getting outside. I think Gus Edwards has the ability more than he gets credit for, at least in previous years, has had the ability to get outside. Sometimes we've seen him get outside, and I'm like, wow, he's faster than people think. But to my eye, they're just not winning up front, and they're not winning those one-on-one battles in the inside that allows them to run between the tackles like they had. I was the biggest critic of the fade pattern at the goal line last 2 weeks ago when he threw the interception. And so I was all in favor of running the ball down near the goal line. Well, they ran the ball down the goal line, and they couldn't score that way either this past week. A couple of those were Jackson running wide, a couple more Edwards inside, and it didn't work. I agree with you. I still think Lamar Jackson running is their best weapon, and they seem to be motivated or determined to get away from that. And maybe it's trying to keep Jackson upright. Maybe it's trying to keep him healthy. Maybe it's because they did do all this investment in the passing game, and by golly, we are going to be a passing team. Just watch. But that's not really working right now in some respects. Rashad Bateman kind of looks lost, and Odell Beckham hasn't been much of a factor. And so the passing game is not nearly what I think they thought it would look like.
Yeah,
Zay Flowers has been everything they expected him to be.
That part, no doubt.
Yeah, it seems.
But
go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting.
No, I was just going to say, but so to my mind, it's just what Glenn said. Lamar Jackson running the ball is still their best play. And they may not want it to be that way, but so far this year, it looks just like other years in that respect.
I wasn't always a Greg Roman hater, but it seems like some of the lack of running has to do with sort of the change of emphasis that they wanted to move away from being a predominantly running team that passed once in a while to being a team that passes an awful lot and makes big plays. And the trade-off has been some of the loss of effectiveness in the running game. It's sort of a mentality. I don't think they have that mentality that we're going to bulldoze people over,
No, I think they did make a conscious effort to become more of a passing team.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And I mean, look, they drafted Flowers. They brought in Beckham. They brought in Aguilar. They wanted to be more of a passing team, and they have a better passing offense than they did in previous few years. There's no doubt about it with the personnel. It's absolutely a better passing offense in terms of personnel. It hasn't always showed up. And I will say, though, to Lamar Jackson's credit, and I don't know what his responsibilities have changed in terms of ability to change the line of scrimmage, but it looked to me, and I wasn't in London, but it looked to me like on at least two of their big pass plays last week, they were changes that Lamar Jackson made at the line of scrimmage. The long pass to Beckham down the seam and the early pass to Aguilar, both to me looked like plays where he checked into them, and they turned out to be big plays.
No doubt.
But overall, for the personnel they have and for the money they've invested, that passing game has not looked like they want it to look. And John Harbaugh said this week, well, this offense is still kind of a work in progress. We're still kind of building it, is how he described it, and that's fair. But we're into the seventh game of a 17-game season, and this was kind of built to win now with the money they spent, and they need to win now.
The calculus there, Bo, was that not play. I understand the risk and reward that you didn't want to play your key offensive players in the preseason, but how much do you accomplish in preseason games versus practice? And I think the need may have been greater on this particular team to be able to hit the ground running, to have played a little bit in the preseason.
Well, that was always a risk, right? There was always a worry that they're going to come out having no preseason time,
right?
And hardly any snaps together until the games counted, and then how long would it take to get up to speed? But I mean, remember that Cincinnati game, they looked week 2, they look to really be in a rhythm in that second game. And to me, the more alarming thing is after that week 2 game, it's just been kind of fits and starts. And you haven't seen the kind of gradual ascension you would like to see over the course of 5 or 6 weeks as they really get up to speed. So, yeah, and now Harbaugh is in a bit of a can't win in that situation because if you play those guys and Jackson gets hurt or Beckham gets hurt, and then they're killing him for it. And I get that. So I don't know the answer there. He certainly the Dobbins injury a couple of years ago absolutely has informed him in terms of
no question
in terms of preseason action. But watching them that second game in Cincinnati and being able to move the ball the way they did, it looked like, this is what they want it to look like. But it hasn't really looked like that a lot, and that's obviously a cause for concern. And now it's got a really good Detroit team coming in that could make them uncomfortable again.
Press Box Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka with us, and this month's print issue of Press Box, he's got a fun story up about how college football past still continues to play out inside the Ravens locker room and how it drives conversation and the relationships that Ravens players share as they celebrate their college teams. You can check that out in that print issue of Press Box, which is available for free right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Bo, there were 2 other things I wanted to touch on before I let you go. The first being, on the flip side of the ball, and we had him out for the Tyus Bowser Show this year, Jadeveon Clowney has been a revelation this season. I mean, it's so far beyond what could have been reasonably expected from him when he arrived, and you can even say I think Kyle Van Noy's been more impactful than most people believed that he could be arriving when he did. The trade deadline is coming up, right? We are about 12 days away from the trade or 11 days at this point away from the trade deadline, and we have seen the Ravens be active. I had said all along I thought the biggest area of need was an impact edge rusher. So I asked this question remembering the great start that Justin Houston got off to a year ago and how deceiving that proved to be. Do you feel like the Ravens are set now at edge rush? They'll get Odafe Owe back. Or do you still think that could stand out? And where else do you feel like they could at least be looking if they are going to indeed, again, be active at the deadline this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, with Clowney, I totally agree with you. I think back to, like, in the past years, we've seen them with Justin Houston or Jason Pierre-Paul last year where you pull off a mid-season or an early-season acquisition for a veteran free agent who might come in and play a little bit. And we didn't know what Clowney would have left or what he would look like after the past couple of years. He's been absolutely everything they could have hoped for. Yeah. I mean, and John Harbaugh said in London on Sunday, he's always been a Raven. He didn't know it till he got here. And I asked Clowney this week, what when he heard Harbaugh say that, what do you think he meant? And Clowney is just raving about the organization, the culture. He says he loves coming to work. He loves being with the people here. He just feels completely re-energized, and he's playing like it. Having said that, he's also a guy that could easily wear down over 17 games. And so I would not rule out them looking still for an edge rusher. I know there's still long-term questions about Ajabo and Bowser, and Owe's back now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them look for an edge rusher.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think they might still look in the secondary when they look around and see Marcus Williams hurt again.
True.
They're thin at safety right now, and I don't know when Marcus Williams will be back and what they'll get when they get him back. And it's hard because he hardly ever missed a game when he was with the Saints, and then he came here and he's been hurt a lot. You can't predict that. In fact, when they signed him, they praised his durability, and then it happens. It happened with Chuck Clark when he left here too. So that's tricky. I think they might still look in the secondary for help, and Eric DeCosta loves to make trades. So I think he'll be looking. It's amazing. To me, in my mind, the trade deadline was still quite a ways off, but it really isn't.
Yeah, it's 2 games away, right? Yeah.
It's coming up, yeah.
Has anything happened with the guy that Denver released, Frank, what's his name?
Frank Clark signed somewhere? I actually don't know if Frank Clark signed somewhere.
I don't know, actually. I'm not sure.
I'm looking it up right now.
I haven't seen his name pop up that he signed anywhere.
Apparently, he had a physical with the Chiefs, and he's going to re-sign there.
Okay.
So, and that makes sense. He was there for a while.
Yeah, he was there.
And then I'm going to give this to both of you guys before I let you go, Bo. Terrell Suggs goes into the Ring of Honor this weekend. Looking ahead, we assume that whenever Joe Flacco announces his retirement, he would be the next logical choice. But aside from that, is there someone who would be eligible already that you particularly think deserves to be in the Ring of Honor, right? Like, let's just say that Joe doesn't announce his retirement. The Ravens don't have someone lined up for next year. Is there someone that you feel like should be in that next year would be a perfect opportunity for them to do that if they don't have Joe Flacco going in?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought of it, and no one comes to mind. But that's not that I'm forgetting or thinking about it.
I'll throw two names out. One is Tony Siragusa, and the other is David Modell. I've always felt that David Modell belongs in the Ring of Honor.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but
there
I don't think the football powers that be.
I feel as strongly about it. I tend to agree with that. And I've made the argument for Tony Siragusa, too, before, and I do feel as though beyond just what he did on the football field, he's deserving of it. I actually, the guy that I feel like is, just from a football standpoint, is totally worth it, Bo, I think Sam Cooke is a Ring of Honor guy.
That's a great point.
I get he only made one Pro Bowl, but that's almost a goof because they sort of gave the Pro Bowl to whoever had the biggest distance as a punter was concerned.
Right. He was an effective punter.
He was a wildly effective punter and won a Super Bowl.
He played more games than anyone in the history of the team.
That's also true.
Whatever you want to say else, he's played more games than anyone in the history of the team. So that helps, too. That's a fair question. That's a fair one.
I feel strongly that Sam Cooke is worthy of Ravens Ring of Honor consideration. I don't know how they feel about that. We will find out. At B Smolka on Twitter.
I'll say this, for what it's worth, Sam Cooke had the full retirement press conference setup. So he's obviously still working for them.
That's a good point. They did treat him significantly when he announced his retirement. That is a fair point, and maybe shows that they do think of him that way.
That's a great point.
That they'd be willing to honor him like that.
And a great point by Bo.
At B Smolka on Twitter is how you follow him. PressBoxOnline.com is where you see all of his stuff. Bo, always appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again next Friday, all right?
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Bo.
Bo Smolka, Pressbox Ravens beat writer. The other one that was, I had this conversation with some friends this week. That's why I thought of it, and I wanted to bring. We thought we were going to have a bunch of open segments today. As it turns out, last minute, we filled up all those open segments today. So this was on my list of topics to get to, is who else should still go in. And I know you've talked a lot about David Modell. You and I have talked a lot about Tony Siragusa, and I agree.
I just somehow always assumed Goose was in there, and I realized he didn't have the breadth and width of what you do, but when you talk about building up a franchise, he did it on the field, and he created the touch off the field.
And you could argue David Modell is the closest one to that, right?
Exactly.
But as far as establishing this franchise and the relationship with this city, there is no one that impacted like Tony Siragusa did, and I feel strongly about that.
I think they have their blinders on about David. In other words, I don't think it's like they think about him that much.
Right.
But I think they sort of say, well, it's Art's son. For those of us that were around the franchise when it moved here, he did the heavy lifting of putting that team on the map in this town.
Established the relationship with John Zeman and the band, and he went out of his way to ingratiate himself, his family, and the franchise in Baltimore. And it's hard, particularly for someone Griffin's age, to understand that was a thing you had to do because there was a lot of awkwardness surrounding the Ravens' arrival in '96.
Remember the night after the Super Bowl? I think it was 6 or 8 months later, or was it right afterwards? That was right afterwards. They brought the trophy.
Well, that was his thing.
At the Senator movie theater.
He wanted everyone in town to touch the trophy. Yep. That was David Modell specifically said, "I want this to be yours."
Yep.
There was no standoff. Look, I'm not trying to criticize the current Ravens. I get that money has changed the NFL, and these franchises' valuation is significantly more than it was even at 20 years ago is what we're talking about. But there is nothing similar to the length that David Modell went to try to say,
this team is
you
yours.
are us.
Yep.
Like, we are all one here. Yep. And he stood out himself when they arrived at BWI. He stood out with the trophy and said, "Please come over. I will stand here for hours holding this thing in order to give you the opportunity to come over and touch it and let you know that it's yours. You're a part of this.
I remember talking to David about two things. You know, the high school here in town, the legendary Poly.
Yes, of course.
Polytechnic High School.
BPI.
He called it Pauly.
Oh, did he? Okay.
And he also always referred to Memorial Stadium as Memorial. He used to say, and I said, David, there's two things that you say in this town. And he really put his hand out and shook my hand and said, I really appreciate your taking the time to instruct me on that, because I came here.
Yep.
I don't know, but to me it was Memorial because their stadium, the old stadium in Cleveland, was Memorial, but they didn't refer to it as much as Memorial Stadium. Here we called it Memorial Stadium.
There's some little things when people come to town. Pronouncing Towson is one of those things that people struggle with. Towson. Yeah. It's a significant struggle. But
the biggest one is here in town. Here we call it rubbernecking.
Yeah.
When you look in the Midwest, they call it
bottlenecking.
A gaper's lurch.
What?
Or something.
I have
like
never heard
that
that before.
Yeah.
You just taught me something today, Stan.
They go, oh, yeah, we're in a gaper's lurch. And I go, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, when people start looking over and gaping,
That's interesting. I did not know. So I want to finish this thought real quick before we talk some baseball here. The other name that was brought up to me by my buddies, and look, a lot of people bring up the same, Derek Mason, Anquan Bolden. Don't give me Jimmy Smith. Those guys are all guys that I think have arguments, right? I'm not opposed to any of that group of guys.
Right.
Chris McAllister, to me, I get it. He had some personal demons and some issues, but as a football player was concerned,
he was a lockdown corner.
Compared to some of the careers some of the early guys who went into the Ring of Honor had, Chris McAllister absolutely deserving.
Yeah.
But the one that was interesting to me, and I'm pretty sure the answer is he didn't want to go in, is Ozzie. I'm pretty sure the answer was Ozzie didn't want to be recognized that way.
Okay.
And I do wonder if now that he has stepped down as general manager, that maybe they reapproach that and say, hey, now could we consider that? Because we'd rather do it while you're alive than wait until after you have passed in order to give you that honor. But I think that would be one that would stand out to me as kind of an obvious one to do. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Stan the Fan Charles in studio with us on a Friday edition of GCR. The championship series of the Major League, or the championship round of the Major League Baseball playoffs continues today. And I think that we felt a little kinship this year with what was going on in Arizona, Stan. The young teams kind of came up underneath the radar, very high-level young players. Of course, Gunnar Henderson will be American League Rookie of the Year, Corbin Carroll out in Arizona. I think we felt a little bit of that. And so it was.
Who would have won if Josh Young wouldn't have gotten hurt?
It's a very fair question. It was neat to me to see Arizona inch their way back into that series yesterday, and thought it would be a great opportunity to catch up with an old friend, of course, a former Orioles pitcher, and now the color analyst for the Diamondbacks Spanish radio broadcasts. He is Rodrigo Lopez, and he is back with us here on GCR. Rodrigo, it's Glenn and Stan back in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Oh, thank you. Glenn, Stan, well, it's always nice talking to you guys over there in Baltimore. And, well, I thought we're going to talk in Spanish, but hopefully my English works.
Oh, I think it'll be just fine. I think it'll be just fine, Rodrigo.
Glenn misled me. I thought I was going to have to interpret what you said because I speak such good Spanish.
Such fluent. He was going to do his Brandon Quinones impression this morning. Rodrigo, this team, how this has come about, right? How did this happen with the Diamondbacks? And I feel like it's a similar story. Probably a few more veterans involved, but how did it happen that this Diamondbacks team was ready to make this jump this season and make a run so far all the way to the NLCS?
Yeah, it's been an amazing season. It's been a transition. I know it's been a hard time for Mike Hazen and all the administration over there in the front office, but I think during the spring training, we expect to have a good team, but not ready for playoff at least this year. But I can say once they sign for a long-term Corbin Carroll, I think things haven't changed here, and we just the first 2 months, the first 3 months of the season, half the season, on playing really, really nice baseball, very dynamic baseball on the bases. Pitching was pretty surprising. We also know we can count on Galen and Kelly, but the young pitchers also did the job. And here we are. At the end, we finished the season with the 4 straight losses, not scoring any runs. But all of a sudden, it changed once we knew that we're going to get a chance to, play the playoff. I think once we get to Milwaukee, the mentality changed. And, Torey LaBelle is a great leader. He knows how to handle the clubhouse, and also that counts a lot for what we're seeing right now. It's just happy baseball, dynamic baseball, and guys that are pretty young that never give up.
Rodrigo, I'm thinking just from strictly an Oriole point of view, what could we trade the Diamondbacks to get Brandon Pfaadt for next year?
Man, he was good.
Suppose we give you like Ramon Urias,
yeah, right.
James McCann.
Yeah, you can have them all. Wait, I don't like McCann.
Ryan McKenna.
Sure, yeah. All those guys, right?
Well, knowing that Longoria is probably in his career, we know that we need a solid third base, probably Gunnar Henderson.
Gold Glove third baseman.
Oh, you want Gunnar Henderson? He wants Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work out.
That's not gonna work out.
But
seriously, how did he? I have to admit, I fell asleep. I kept looking at his ERA, and I said, "How are they starting this guy against the Dodgers?" And the guy has been. Now I look at his numbers and realize he's the number one pitching prospect in your organization. He was really special last night.
No, definitely. And I have to give credit to Torey and his staff, because I was also surprised, just like you, seeing his stats. He was the pitcher of the year last year in the start season in the minor leagues. But honestly, I didn't see it on the stats that he could pitch in the big leagues. And his first couple of games didn't show as much talent that he's showing right now. And I didn't know what to expect with this guy, because also you see his games during the season were not like consistent. He got good games here and there, but never see a guy who's consistent, start to start. And I guess the needs of the pitching rotation, he put him on first to start the first game of the postseason in Milwaukee. He didn't do well. He gave up 3 runs, I believe, in the first inning. And then for the division series against the Dodgers, they gave him the ball for the third game. We were ahead on that series 2-0. So, I think it makes sense. But the way he performs, everybody was surprised. Not walking anyone, challenged the batter. They know that they have the stuff, and he really showed up that day. That's what it was all about. And his mentality, his body language on the mound, definitely, I think he created a great impression to everyone, that given the second chance to start this game, the third game of the National League Series, and it was amazing. I didn't know what to expect for him, knowing that we lost 2 games over there in Philadelphia against really, really good lineup. And, one of the things that he has dealing with is, dealing with the home runs during the season. I believe he gave up like 22 home runs in 19 starts, something like that. And he threw him a lot of strikes. And these guys don't miss any fastballs. So I was really concerned about how he was going to deal with this lineup. But honestly, he dealt like a mature and, veteran guy on the mound, and he was just dealing last night. 18 batters. He ended up retiring the last game that he faced. I mean, he was outstanding, and definitely he put us in a different situation right now.
Yeah, he was brilliant. There's no question about it. Rodrigo, I want to go back to something you said, because I think there's a tie-in to a couple of things related to Baltimore. One, you bring up when the Diamondbacks signed Corbin Carroll. Can you speak to what that did for the guys in the clubhouse, inside this organization, and even the fan base there in Arizona to dig in further and be further entrenched with belief of what was going on there, that things are going to be a little bit different. We're a little bit jealous here. We've been waiting to see the Orioles step up and get one of these done with, a Rutschman or a Henderson, and they might be running out of time at some point with some of these guys because they look like they're going to get a lot of money. But how important that decision was for everybody related to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, no, he's a great asset to the team, and it's not just because of the talent that he has on the field, also his leadership. He's a rookie. He played a few games last year, but he pretty much is a rookie, and he might be the Rookie of the Year in the National League. But he's present in the clubhouse, knowing who's the veteran. Cattell is the veteran guy who also is one of the leaders, but he, I believe, being a leader by example, he took the rest of the team with him on the shoulders, and just the energy, the way he plays, the way he takes at bat, his ethic, and everything else, is the presence that he brings to the team. I think that's contagious, and the other guys, help the other teammates, just like Alec Thomas, McCarthy, with us now in the roster this time. But those little things that you're looking in a leader, that's what makes the difference with Corbin Carroll. And even he gets into a slump, which is not regular and it's not happening much, he always brings, that energy in the clubhouse, in the dugout during the game, running hard. He's fast. He is a good base running. All that, definitely it makes the team different. And I think that's what we were looking for from year past. We got some good players through the years. The team has been rebuilt, but the character, the personality that Corbin Carroll creates there, I think it makes a difference.
Rodrigo, I've got one more question to ask you. It's more a general baseball question. It was certainly an unintended consequence in baseball during the pandemic that pitchers were going to not pitch as much. Are we finally, when we go into 2024, will we finally have built pitchers back up to the prior to pandemic levels of innings pitched? Do you think that will not be as big an issue?
That's a good question, and I don't know if that was because of the pandemic or just the way they handled the game.
Yeah.
There were many talks in the hallways up there, talking with veteran guys that I crossed paths with, and yeah, we see pitchers that then can handle 100 pitches anymore, or we're gonna see less pitchers with 200 innings plus, less and less. And I think it's just the new way that they manage the game, as far as trying to administrate their arms, trying to keep them active, not avoiding the IL. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a good thing in the future for baseball, for the arms, for the pitchers, the way we used to, handle pitching during the season. If you use the bullpen too much, probably at the end of the season, they're not going to be as effective as you think. And also the starters might not, handle big games. And I don't know in the future from now on, if we're going to ever see guys with 200 wins. So meaning which kind of pitcher we'll see in the Hall of Fame in the future. So
maybe Rodrigo, maybe Rodrigo Lopez.
Hey man, that
yeah. So yeah, that's a big question, a big topic. I think that the baseball need to talk about it. But yeah, that's where we are right now, and definitely we see guys throwing harder and harder every time. But yeah, we're not gonna see more performance like complete games or perfect games on even quality starts. There are guys that have not many quality starts, and they're getting paid in the big league. So I don't know, it's a big thing to talk about.
Rodrigo, my last one for you before we let you go. Just you can understand why it's a topic here in Baltimore, but the debate about the layoff for teams that win the division. Yeah. Did you get a sense, and not to say that it's the reason why the Diamondbacks beat the Dodgers, but did you get a sense for whether it did matter and how important it was for the guys in Arizona to keep playing and not sit around for a week? And what do you think of how baseball might handle that moving forward?
Yeah, no, I mean, the way we are right now, definitely you bring more fans in general in baseball, and reward those guys that at the end never give up. And well, the perfect example is the Diamondbacks that we just win 84 games, and here we are in the National League Division Series. But yeah, at the same time, think about those guys that won 100 games. Say, okay, what's going to be the reward? I don't know. Is that the case that the future is if they're going to get rewarded in a different way, because also the inactivity seems like work against them. Like happened to the Dodgers, right? Happened to you guys too, the Orioles. And I understand they're trying to give it the chance to the guys like in the middle of the division and stuff like that, but is that fair? It's hard to answer. That they give you a better chance to other teams and bring more fans. Yeah, that's a reality. This is what happened right now. Like in the National League, there are two guys that are wearing the white card race, trying to get the pennant for the National League. And in Texas and in American League, is the Rangers win the series, we're gonna see two white card competitors in the World Series. Again, is that fair? I don't know, but definitely MLB has to see this because if I was part of the Dodgers or part of the Orioles, I would complain. Like, I don't think it's fair. We do everything possible for 6 months, and you reward the guys that probably didn't do that well. So it's I mean, I definitely like it the way MLB is involved, because even there is 6 teams per each league, but at the end it's like 20 teams that get involved and get into the competition until the end of the last week of baseball. So, but definitely, it's hard to say right now, but I believe MLB will take a look at this competition mode.
And to be fair, the Orioles lost, right? Like, we're not trying to make excuses about it. The Orioles lost. They had their chance. That's what it is. But, it just doesn't seem like they have it all quite figured out just yet. Rodrigo, really great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning. Best of luck to the Diamondbacks as the series continues tonight, and enjoy this run. It seems like it's been an awful lot of fun. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you all, guys. Nice talking to you all with good memories, from Baltimore. So thank you so much, too.
Thank you, Rodrigo.
Rodrigo Lopez, former Orioles pitcher, now the Diamondbacks color analyst for their Spanish radio broadcast. Just thought it'd be a neat opportunity to catch up with him. Let's just keep plowing ahead, Griffin. Let's just keep moving right forward. And yeah, I'm still, like I said earlier, Stan, I'm still not convinced that they can find their way fully back into the series, but they did what they needed to do, and they get the opportunity to try to turn it around and do it again today. And
well, a lot rests on the left arm of Christopher Sanchez, somebody that they picked up. Did they pick him up in a trade with the Texas Rangers?
Oh, let me try to remember.
The Phillies?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how they got Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah. But whatever it is, I liked him. I saw him several times, and it was a little confusing. Rangers, Suarez, Christopher Sanchez.
It was the Rays.
The Rays. That's right. The Rays, man.
Yeah, right. All they do is produce pitchers.
Who did the Rays get for him?
Curtis Mead.
Oh, Curtis Mead is a top prospect now.
Okay.
Wow. That trade was made a couple of years ago.
It was in 2019.
Yeah.
November 2019, Christopher Sanchez for Curtis Mead.
He's born somewhere really odd.
Curtis Mead. I am learning these things as we talk about them.
Yeah.
Curtis Mead is from Australia.
Yeah.
He's from
Down
Australia.
under.
How about
Down
that?
under.
How about that? Thank you to Rodrigo Lopez for spending some time with us this morning. The Tyus Bowser Show will be back. We're not going to do a show. Normally it's every other week, but every other week would line up for Halloween. And we're assuming that you guys probably have some plans for Halloween, want to take your kids out, do all that stuff.
Come on, tell the truth. Tyus Bowser wanted to go out
trick-or-treating, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, Tyus was quite the hit at the Ravens Super Bowl party. I think it was last year because he wore a costume that basically just was him shirtless. It was a character from the film White Chicks from a few years ago, and
I do that all the time.
Yeah, you wear the same exact costume
around
don't you?
my house,
right? And it was very popular with the young ladies in town.
Right.
The costume that Tyus wore. But yeah, we're gonna skip Halloween night, and we will do the show on November 7th instead. So that will be our next.
Baseball season is over by then.
By then, no.
I'm coming.
So you're coming out. Guilford Hall Brewery on November 7th. It's going to be a great night to be out for the Tyus Bowser Show, brought to you by A.J. Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. All right. Stan, you want to...
What did me in this week, was our paper came. I had a long day. Papers were delivered like about 8:45. And John was talking, come on, they got the baseball game. And I said, okay, I'm going to try and make it. I got home, man. I'm 71 years old
And
now.
by the way, we had a massive crowd. It was overwhelming at Mother's North Grill this week. And,
you know what really works about this concept that you and John came up with is the moving it around.
Yep.
It's
going to different places.
Yeah, because it's fresh at each place.
That's the idea. But we do have a couple of home bases, and Guilford Hall Brewery has certainly been one of our home bases, and we love them, and the food's great, and the beer's great, and Tyus happens to love that place, so it works out really well to do the show back at Guilford Hall. Stan, do you want to introduce us to our next guest?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Is he on the line?
He is, very much so.
All right. Bernie Walter ran the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame for, I guess, Steve will correct me if I'm wrong, 4 or 5 years. And Bernie was getting up there, and he knew he needed somebody to turn it over to. And he turned it over to the man who's now been the executive director of the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm going to guess about 8 or 9 years. And it's Steve Doherty. He joins us now. We've got our banquet coming up November 9th at Martin's West. Steve, welcome on. You know me, but Glenn Clark is the host of the show, and I'll turn it over to him.
Steve, thanks for taking the time for us this morning.
Thanks, Glenn. Nice to see you, and nice to talk to you. And Stan, thank you for all your help and support over the years.
Steve, for people that don't know, like they said the Maryland Athletic Hall, like how's that different than other halls of fame? How's it different than the Orioles Hall of Fame? And can you explain what the purpose, the mission of the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame is?
Sure. The Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame was founded in 1956. We're a state chartered athletic hall of fame, and our mission is to honor and recognize those native Maryland athletes that have had outstanding athletic careers, and that we've had some Hall of Fame baseball, Hall of Fame football, gold medal winners in the Olympics. And interesting, I think it was the 2016 Olympics with Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky, a couple other. The state of Maryland won the third most gold medals
of any country.
In the world. So we have a tremendous history of outstanding Maryland athletes. Our purpose is to honor those athletes.
Steve, I just wanted to clarify one thing. You said Maryland born. It was originally Maryland born. When did that change to allow for somebody like Brooks Robinson to go into our Hall of Fame, or a Chuck Thompson,
Gary Williams?
Well, that's correct. Probably back in 2012, 2013, we recognized that our original charter was Native American Native Marylanders only. Then we were seeing people like Johnny Unitas, Brooks Robinson, Wes Unseld, that have been part of our community for years and decades, and they are synonymous with Maryland athletics. All right, Johnny Unitas from Pennsylvania, Brooks Robinson from Arkansas, Wes Unseld from Kentucky. These folks have been in our community and enhancing and bettering our community for, like I said, decades. So we changed our charter, probably I think in 2012, to recognize what we call adopted Marylanders. And those athletes that have had outstanding careers, and that we also want to recognize those type of people when we have the opportunity. Not everybody is fortunate to be born in the state of Maryland, but in the end, they're part of our community, and they've contributed to the success and the fabric of our community for decades. We have a minimum of like 20 or 25 years. So it's really decades for that to achieve that requirement. Leon Day is someone that we honored last year that was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but spent decades as part of the Baltimore community in the state of Maryland.
MDSAHOF.com is the website for the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame, and you can find out more about the banquet coming up on November 9th. This year's class, Adrian Dantley, Dominique Dawes, speaking of Olympians, also Jermaine Lewis, who succeeded at every level in this state, as well as Northern Dancer, of course, the horse, Harold Solomon, a great tennis player from the D.C. suburbs of the state of Maryland. And then the two awards, and I wanted to have you touch on both these awards, Steve. And I'll start with the John Stedman Lifetime Achievement Award. Speaking of someone who's sort of an adopted Marylander, I think everybody knows Scott Garceau is from the Midwest. He's from Wisconsin. And I always tell people, we are happy to welcome outsiders here in Maryland. There will be people that will come to town and be like, oh, you just don't like me because I'm not from here. That's not the case whatsoever. We love you if you tell us that you love us. If you come in and you ingratiate yourself and you say, this is my home.
And you give up your allegiance to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice, but Scott never did that. He certainly kept his allegiance to the Packers over the years. And Scott, to me, is the shining example of exactly what someone who comes to town from out of town should be. Why is it that you wanted to honor him with the Stedman Award this year?
Well, first of all, the John Stedman Award is there to honor media, broadcasting, contributors to the sports scene in the state of Maryland. All right, so many of us remember John Stedman as a longtime sports writer in Baltimore, really a legend in the sports writing community. And so this award has been named after him, and we want to recognize those type of people. Now, for Scott, he's had a 40-year career in WMAR TV, voice of the Ravens for the first 10 years of their existence, a 17-year career with the Baltimore Orioles. For those of us that watch, listen to the sports, to the games, the Ravens, the Orioles, they're part of our lives.
And over a decade, Steve, on 105.7, The Fan, talking to fans. Yep.
Exactly. Yep. And for those of us that are a little bit older, we grew up with Chuck Thompson, all right, for the Orioles games and the Colts games, all right? Chuck was the voice of Baltimore. Scott is really a legend and a voice of Baltimore and our community, especially our sports community, as Stan just mentioned on 105.7, WMAR, the Ravens, the Orioles. I mean, still at 71 years old, doing the Oriole games out there all the time. So, and we want to recognize those contributors to that community. We also have done in the past the Stedman Award a couple of years ago to John Sherholz, all right, the executive for the Atlanta Braves, former Towson University, and we did that in the same year that he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and I will tell you, I was a little nervous when I made the call down to John to ask him if he would come because it doesn't get much better than the Hall of Fame. He was so excited to get the Stedman Award and to come home to Maryland. It was what a genuinely class individual, and to be so excited to receive the Stedman Award was terrific from our standpoint. He gave a wonderful speech and talked about his roots in Maryland, his roots as a teacher, as a student, Towson, as an administrator, Towson, and then, of course, with a Hall of Fame career with the Atlanta Braves. So that's an example of what we're talking about with the Stedman Award.
Banquet's coming up November 9th. It starts at 6 o'clock at Martin's West. All of these inductees will be there. Tell us a little bit I also wanted to let Glenn know. You know, Glenn, they were between naming the Stedman Award. They were between John Stedman Award
and Stan Charles.
Stan the Fan,
No,
Stan the Fan Award. But I was on the committee.
Oh, you had to
so
recuse yourself.
Yeah,
that's tough.
And I would have been the only vote for Stan the Fan.
Yeah.
But all kidding aside, we've come up with we've come up with a new award to cover the fact that there are a lot of non-playing personnel that deserve to go in this Hall of Fame. We came up a couple of years ago with the Coach's Legacy Award. Gary Williams now is the only one to go in both. I think I think he went in as a. Wasn't he in the Hall of Fame already?
He is not a member of the Hall of Fame. We honored him
as Coach's Legacy.
He was our inaugural Coach's Legacy Award winner. You know, we really wanted to. You know, we have so many outstanding coaches. I mean, you know, we're doing Chris Weller this year. Brenda Fries at the University of Maryland, Gary Williams, national champions, Super Bowl champion Ravens, World Series champions. So we kind of created the Coaches of Legacy Award to separate the Stedman Award, kind of focus on there. We have some outstanding candidates that we are considering each and every year. You know, folks that are involved with the Maryland Stadium Authority that helped build Camden Yards, the class of Major League Baseball, M&T Bank Stadium, and hundreds and hundreds of buildings and venues around the state of Maryland. And just these people make contributions to sports and athletics in the state of Maryland that often go unrecognized.
Yep.
And so that's our mission, to recognize these people. And you touched upon our second honoree as the Coach's Legacy Award, Chris Weller.
Yep.
I mean, many people, younger folks, you know, we see the University of Maryland success that Coach Fries has had at Maryland with the women's program. I got to tell you, along with Pat Summitt back in the early 70s, the Maryland women's basketball program started as an intramural sport, and she created what we see today. She was a pioneer in women's basketball. She is truly a really just an unbelievable legend in women's basketball. Whenever I talk to coaches and players that know the history, Chris Weller, you mentioned Chris Weller's name, it's right off the bat. They understand exactly who she is and what she did, along with people like Pat Summitt.
Steve, how excited is she to go in?
She is very excited. She is, it's hard. I think Maryland recognized her a few years back. I mean, she's got a whole litany of former players that absolutely love her. All right. And this is an opportunity for us and them. You know, we all get advanced in age. So, you know, and that same, Gary Williams last year was a fantastic honor. Gary, Coach Williams, it's a fantastic honor. Coach Weller. These are people that, truth be told, as we saw with Brooks Robinson this year, we inducted Brooks a number of years ago into the Hall of Fame. They're not going to be around forever. So when we have an opportunity to honor them when they're still here, it really is something that we we aim for, and it's something that we try to do whenever we can.
Again,
all right?
Again, the banquet is November 9th. It's a Thursday night. Tickets up until the 26th of October. Tickets are $100. Then they go back to their normal price of $125. So
exactly.
So
yep.
Purchase your tickets now. I had one last Steve. I had one last question for you.
Sure.
Just so Glenn and the audience don't think it's just Steve Doherty sitting in a room and going, "Gee, this guy deserves it." Tell our audience a little bit about who's on the selection committee along with me. Go ahead.
Well, I am the chairman of our board of directors. Very quickly, and we have some unbelievable people on our board of directors. All right, starting with many people know Gene Fugit, longtime NFL football player and attorney in the Baltimore area. Obviously, Stan Charles. We have Kevin Glover, a former honoree at the university, still involved with the football development program at the University of Maryland. Played, I think, 10 or 12 years for the Detroit Lions, blocking for Barry Sanders. We have Sandy McKee, an Eclipse Award-winning journalist with writing on horse racing industry. We have Mike O'Connor, 4 or 5 year Major League Baseball pitcher, from the Montgomery County area, a graduate of my university, George Washington University, played for the Nationals and Mets. We have Bill Stetka, a longtime Orioles alumni director and longtime executive of the Orioles. We also have Mike Gibbons, who's the executive director of the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum downtown Baltimore. They have an outstanding Brooks Robinson exhibit right now that last year they had, at the time, the most expensive baseball card ever purchased or sold at approximately $8.5 million on Babe Ruth rookie card. And that was a big thing. We have Darrell Hill, who many people know Darrell as it's the Hill House in University of Maryland, first African-American football player in the ACC.
And now a member of the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame.
He is a member. Last year, Darrell was inducted into the Hall of Fame and gave an unbelievable speech, sharing with us what he faced. And not only that, the point that was poignant in his speech was the fact that during all those trials and tribulations, going to the South, playing football at Clemson and places like that, that really made it difficult for he and his family to even attend games, let alone play, was the support that he reflected from the University of Maryland and every individual from the University of Maryland. And his mentor at Maryland, the coach that recruited him, was Lee Corso, who is now on ESPN Game Day, was an assistant coach at the University of Maryland back in the early 60s and recruited Darrell from the Naval Academy, where he was playing wide receiver for another Hall of Famer named Roger Staubach. So the whole entwined sports in the state of Maryland has got a long history, deep roots, and a tremendous amount of success in our state. And it's really, that's our mission, to honor these folks. And I'll just tell you a quick thing. We're doing Terrell Suggs this year. Last year we did Fred McNair, another tennis player, and a year or two prior to that was Steve Krulevitz, another tennis player.
And it's amazing the turnout of tennis players to support these.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, the three of those were the three amigos when they were growing up in the junior circuit around the country. All three of them obviously became professional tennis players. Fred shared with the story, all those years he played against Steve Krulevitz, the first time they ever played as professionals was on the court at Wimbledon. All right, I won't tell you who won. You can look it up. But Fred talked about all those years playing in these tournaments around the state of Maryland, the Mid-Atlantic area. The first time as professionals they faced each other was at Wimbledon. I mean, that's just, we have such a tremendous history and fabric of our sports community, and this is our mission, is to honor that.
Again, the website is mdsahof.com, and you can buy your tickets on that website.
Yep. Love to see a lot of it. We have a tremendous class this year, as Glenn mentioned. I mean, Dominique Dawes, for example, boy, she is becoming a leader in the gymnastics, in the world gymnastics community. Adrian Dantley, what can you say? A basketball Hall of Famer. Harold Salmon. I mean, Jermaine Lewis. I was at an exhibition basketball game at the old Mariner Arena a few years back in downtown Baltimore, and Jermaine Lewis was there, and they introduced him. It was like a 4 or 5 minute standing ovation for him. Yeah. He is beloved in Baltimore as a Raven, as a Super Bowl champion, and we're thrilled to be able to honor him.
It is, and it's a remarkable group. Steve Doherty, really appreciate taking some time for us this morning. We'll continue to get the word out in the next couple of weeks ahead of the banquets.
Yep.
Appreciate you doing this.
Glenn, thank you. Stan, always thank you for your support. We love to see you guys, and thanks a lot.
Talk to you
We
soon.
look forward to seeing everybody on November 9th.
We will try to reach out to some of those folks in the coming weeks and have them on ahead of the banquet.
Steve will probably be able to help you get a
We will make sure we do that, and it's neat. Jermaine Lewis, one of the I don't know how many people are in the Hall of Fame that had succeeded at the high school, college, and pro levels here in the state of Maryland. Pretty remarkable story.
It's amazing
there.
how they were this close to naming that award.
Yeah, after Stan, I can't believe they went with
the fan.
Like Stedman was okay.
Yeah, I mean,
right, like he was
but
all right.
Stan the Fan.
That would have been the one. That would have been the one. We're going to go long today, guys. It's just the way that it goes. When we come back in, we're going to catch up with the great Kurt Warner. And still to come, segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Jadeveon Clowney. Stan the Fan is here. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate arts across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR.
All right, back in here as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is here. Griffin, do you want to tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
Yeah, maybe for the first time ever, you didn't hit on an underbet in the NFL
That
this
went
season.
from being the Thursday Night Footballiest of all of the Thursday Night Football games to suddenly being a thriller in the second half.
Well, if luck wasn't on your side and you took the over or took the under yesterday, like me, you could go over to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, where You can turn losses into winning opportunities with the Second Chance to Win promotion. Between now and January 4th, 2024, all live casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the Second Chance to Win drum, and 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen. Prizes ranging from live casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social ultimate happy hour prizes, cash and free play worth up to $500. Drawings will be held every Thursday and Monday over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And somebody say, well, you got to feel sick for Derek Carr because what's his face? Moreau, who was it? Moreau who dropped the touchdown. I mean, wide open that would have tied the game up in the final minute. And like maybe, but he also his shtick, like him screaming at a receiver, Olave, when he threw the ball 8 yards out of bounds because Olave gave up on the route. Like, what? What was he going to do about that exactly? The ball was in the stands. How exactly was he going to catch that ball? I don't know that I have a lot of sympathy for Derek Carr. Derek Carr definitely let me scream at someone on every play, no matter whose fault it actually was last night during the course of that game.
And then he was
Who won that game? I'm sorry.
The Jaguars won that game.
What'd they win by?
7. So actually the Saints were 1-point favorites.
Yeah, they were.
So worked out for a few of us that were on the Jaguars last night. Our next guest was on the call last Sunday in London when the Ravens took on the Titans. Because of his schedule, I already told you we had to do this yesterday afternoon, but an opportunity to catch up with the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner here on GCR.
He didn't want to talk to me.
No, he wanted to, but the schedule wasn't working out this time.
Well, it is always a pleasure to be joined here on GCR by the Hall of Famer and the man who was on the call as the Ravens beat the Titans in London last Sunday on NFL Network. He's the great Kurt Warner, and he's back with us here on GCR. Kurt, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
You got it. Good to talk to you. It was fun to watch the team and connect with them last week, and excited to see where they can go from here.
You know, I there's so much that I feel like is being, I don't know if missed is the right word. I feel like there is an attitude in Baltimore of, yeah, they're good. They're 4-2. They lead the division, but they should be better than this. And I don't know that it's unfair because we know the games that they've lost, they could have won. But in all, I feel like the Ravens are in a good position. Is there a chance that they are still ascending, that they are still putting things together offensively, and that their best football is still in front of them?
I think when you talk to everybody in that organization, to a man from an offensive standpoint, an offensive perspective, they all believe that they haven't nearly scratched the surface. You know, Mark Andrews used the term that he thinks they're a sleeping giant, that they've got so much potential that they haven't tapped into yet. And they haven't, been able to kind of connect consistently offensively for whatever reason that is. Mistakes across the board, getting comfortable within the system. Lamar continuing to grow and see things and understand, how to process and how to get his eyes to certain places quickly. As you said, this is a team that should be undefeated, having leads in the fourth quarter that they squandered, in those 2 losses, that they feel like they could be undefeated, and they're not as good as they can be at this point in time. And so, I think they feel good with where they're sitting right now, knowing that their best football is in front of them, while at the same time there's a frustration there going, we should be undefeated. We can be better than this, and we're not playing up to our potential. But I've always said the beautiful thing is when you're not playing your A game and you find ways to win anyways, because you have to do that sometimes in this league, is that as you're going through growing pains, or as certain guys are going through struggles, or you're going through injuries, the biggest thing is you find ways to win in hopes that you can put it all together at the right time down the stretch and into the playoffs. And right now they're doing that. They've got a good team across the board, and they're finding ways to win. They're making enough plays to win football games while they still believe that their potential is out there in front of them, and they're excited to see what they can become.
Is there any one aspect of the offense? What jumps out to me is that Lamar is the only one who's running the ball with consistency at the moment. Is it that simple? Hey, if they can get the run game going, which is ironic given what their offense was, that would open everything else up? Or is there something else that jumps out to you that you say, hey, this is the one thing that's maybe holding them back just slightly offensively?
I mean, when you look at statistically, they were a top 5 run team, coming into last weekend. And so, but I do think you make the point. It's consistency. It's, they're doing a lot of things well, except they're shooting themselves in the foot with
Right.
the drop passes a couple weeks ago in the red zone, or they run the football and then they don't make the play in the moment, or they have a penalty, or they're stopping themselves when they get into the red zone, with a mistake here or there, and so I don't know if you can just put it on, hey, they got to run the football more consistently. I just think they have to be more consistent across the board and feel like, no matter what they do, they're going to be successful at it. And I just got the sense from talking to everybody, and everybody to a man, it was just like, we have to be more consistent. We have to quit hurting ourselves, that we've got everything there and we're all just taking our turn at messing it up. And so, I don't think it's as simple as, we just run the ball better or throw the ball. I think it's everybody's got to get together and they have to start clicking. So, so they feel like no matter what they do, they're going to have success doing it. And right now, I feel like they say, hey, we're doing a lot of good things, but we're doing a lot of things that is really hurting us as a football team. And we've got to figure out a way to eliminate it. And I'll always say one of the hardest things is, like, it's easy if you can point to one person or you can point to one group and go, okay, this area is not good enough. We can focus in on that. What's really hard is, like, when everybody takes their turn, going into that game against Pittsburgh, the receivers hadn't dropped the pass all year. And then they dropped 4 in that game, and a couple of them were touchdown. And you're going, oh my gosh, we can't drop passes. But the bottom line is they haven't dropped passes until that one game. But that one game, it cost them. And so I think that's what they feel like, is like everybody, is uncharacteristic, or they step out and they make a mistake at a critical moment. And it's not just one thing you can point your finger at and go, okay, we got to get better in this area. It's across the board. We got to lock in, we got to focus, and we can't hurt ourselves in whatever area that is when we're in a critical moment in a game.
The great Kurt Warner is with us here on GCR. Kurt, it's such a great point because Lamar's played so well this season, and yet even he, right? The turnovers, the fumbles, a really bad interception against Pittsburgh. So even the guy that's doing a whale of a job has been the guy at times. If I could, I wanted to follow up on Lamar because what stands out is his efficiency, right? He's completing passes at a 70% clip. This is wild for someone that was once alleged to not be very good at throwing the football, which you and I both know was insane, and the absurdity that he's had to deal with. Is it encouraging enough to say, if he's doing this right now, that the explosiveness can still be added back in? That if he is making the passes that he's making, that the explosive plays, the downfield throws, that Todd Monken can add those into the offense as the season goes on?
Yeah, I mean, and again, you have to look at the big picture. And I agree with you. I think Lamar's playing really good. But I still think there are a lot of times where it's kind of off schedule and it's choppy. Even though they're making completions at times and they're getting there, I think the biggest thing is you want it to be more smooth. You want Lamar to just fully understand on every concept, okay, where do my eyes need to be? Who am I reading first? Where should the ball go? And what is that timing element within every play? And I'm not putting that all on Lamar. I think, he's in a new system and they're asking him to do things that he hasn't done in a while, maybe since college. So, there's going to take some time there. I also think it's the guys outside of him. It came up a couple times in our meetings with them that, it was just kind of in passing where, the receivers need to run everything at the right depth. And so, that automatically goes off in my head, being a guy that was all about timing and all about anticipation and being able to know exactly where guys were is so important to play on schedule. And so when I hear things like that, I go, so there's a learning curve on the outside too, where maybe a guy's a little too deep or maybe a guy's a little short. And I think back to the interception against the Titans, where he was, throwing it over there to the right-hand side. I forget right now who the receiver was.
The Rashad Bateman. Yep.
Yeah, no, it was Bateman on that play.
Yep.
But you could kind of see it where Bateman turned around and the ball it wasn't a horrible throw. It was, maybe a little bit high, but it was kind of right over the top of his head. But Bateman wasn't ready for it, and the ball goes over, and then, Bunting makes the interception on the sideline, and you're just kind of like things like that, where I kind of saw Lamar kind of throw his hands up a little bit like, what happened there? I thought I was on time, and then you came out and whatever. But all of those things become so important as Lamar is getting comfortable again of playing in timing is you've got to be able to trust your guys. If you don't trust your guys, now all of a sudden, for me, it looks choppy. I'm sitting there waiting to go, okay, when is he going to come out? How much depth is he going to have? When can I let this ball go? And when you're playing like that, it's tough to be fully efficient as an offense. So I think all of that kind of stuff is going on as they're getting comfortable with it. And I think that's going to be something I pay attention to, is that I don't always just look at stats. I know a lot of people look at stats and go, he's completing 70% of his passes. And again, not that he's not playing well, but I just look at that and I go, okay, but a lot of those are off schedule, and it's him kind of buying time and then hitting a guy late. I want to see him come out, see it, hit it, and be on time and have that rhythm, because to me, that's when an offense gets going, is when you believe, hey, I know what I'm seeing. I know where to go with the football. Boom, the ball's out when I hit my back foot. Guys are in the right spot. We're clicking. We can't be stopped. And so that's what I'm looking at more than simply just the numbers across the board. You want to see that level of efficiency, which shows up as just, it looks smooth. It looks easy. It looks like everybody knows where they're going, and Lamar is just out there picking people apart. And I haven't seen it to that level quite yet with this new offense.
That's really interesting, Kurt. I want to add, if I could, about the defense is playing at a really high level at the moment, and I think even better than a lot of people expected coming in, especially given the injuries they were dealing with, things along those lines. I know that everybody wants to be the Miami Dolphins. Everybody wants to be the greatest show on turf, right? They want to be Kurt Warner and the Rams, but it is a team that's playing complementary team football. Like, we saw scores were completely down across the league last week. Is there a possibility that if you just play to your strengths, that might be the best path for trying to win a Super Bowl right now, and not necessarily being the team that's scoring 40 points a game?
Well, I mean, I think all of this is relative, because
Okay.
I think it all really comes down to what you think you're capable of. You know, if you only think you're capable of complementary football and, you know, that's how you're going to win, then so be it. And you play that way and you find ways to win. But, you know, Lamar mentioned it too in one of our meetings, that he's like, I feel like we should score 40 points every time out.
Yeah.
And we haven't done it yet. We're not close to that yet. So I feel like they're saying to themselves, yeah, our defense is playing great. Now, when we put 40 points on the board, we're going to beat people by 20 points,
right,
and we're not going to have to make every play down the stretch, or we're not going to be one play away from losing a close game, because we're too good. You know, we're too good across the board to be in this many close games and have to find ways to win. And, you know, especially when you look at the history over the last couple of years. I mean, I think it's 10 games that they've lost with the lead, you know, late in the game, maybe even in the fourth quarter, that they've lost. And so, you know, you're saying, well, if we're playing at a high clip on offense and our defense is playing like this, we're not one play, you know, like we're doing 2 possessions ahead in the fourth quarter, where we're not going to lose these games no matter how well we play. So, so I just, you know, again, one of the things that came out of my time, and something I think was kind of a question for me, you know, going over there, was simply, they had so much success. They won 70% of their games when Lamar Jackson started under Greg Roman. 70%. Like, that's an unbelievable clip.
Yeah.
Anybody in the league would take 70% win percentage in that offense. Yet they made a change. Why did they make a change? Now, John Harbaugh was, you know, quick to say, hey, this isn't simply because I only think we can win throwing the football. You know, he was adamant that, hey, you can win games a lot of different ways in the league. And they've shown that without a doubt. But so why was it? Well, it was because they felt like the potential of Lamar Jackson was greater than what they had within that Greg Roman offense. And they wanted to tap into everything that is Lamar Jackson, because they believe when they get that Lamar Jackson, you know, we've seen we've seen an MVP Lamar Jackson, but if they believe there's more and they can tap into that, that's what makes this team a championship team. And so that's what they're shooting for. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time as they, you know, kind of shift this thing. Great thing, as I said earlier, they're having success while they're learning how to play this new offense, while they're trying to tap into Lamar's potential. But that's why they made the change, is that because they know in this league, again, I won't say they know, I believe in this league, you have to be able to throw the football. You have to be able to play the game from inside the pocket if you're going to win a championship, because that's just how it's done come playoff time. Teams take away the things that you do best, and they force you to play the game inside the pocket and be efficient there. And if you can't, those teams rarely get to championship games and win championship games. And so I believe there's a part of everybody there that knows that we have to be better in this area. So we have to focus on it, right? I talked to Greg Roman a year ago, and I covered one of their games. And, just looking at it from an offensive perspective, I just remember thinking to myself, everybody wants you to be this great run team, built around these 2 and 3 tight ends and a great dynamic pass team, but they don't connect. When you have an offense that's, packing it in and running between the tackles and using, then you can't run those same formations and spread the field and do some of the things that other teams are doing. So it's extremely hard for a coordinator to go, well, if we want to be this running the football, we can't be that throwing the football. We've got to, build our pass game around that. I think the Titans are another example, right? They are Derrick Henry centric in their offense. So their offense becomes a lot of 2-man routes and play action. And it's hard to be, extremely dynamic in the pass game when you're so built around playing between the tackles. And so that's where I think, the Ravens are hoping to expand. Still a top 5 run team. We still want to be a power run team when we need to, but we want to do it with more 3 wide receiver sets and spread sets. So now it's not this dramatic change from run game to pass game. It's not using different personnel or trying to use a certain personnel in the run game and then spread them out and think they're going to be dynamic in the pass game. It just doesn't work. And so they're trying to figure out that mesh point of being able to be a real good run team, because that's where they've won games in the past. That's what they're doing real well this year. But doing it in such a way that it truly connects to a dynamic or what could be a dynamic pass game. And now we've got something. Now it's hard for teams to stop us because we're not going, when we go 3 wides, we're throwing it, right? When we go 3 tight ends, we're either going to run or play action, and we're going to stay in between the tackles, and we can't spread the field. We want to be able to do both, and that's why this experiment, and I think that's why the change. And, and we're going to see, can they do that? Can they get to the point where they can do both of those things and they can mesh it together, where now they can become really, really dynamic or really, really balanced, and teams can't just figure it out like, hey, we're going to do this. Oh, if they spread out and pass from this situation with, with a fullback and 3 tight ends, we feel pretty good about our chances to be able to stop them, when they do that. And so I think, again, long-winded way to say this is kind of some of the stuff that I took from our meetings and the understanding of what they're trying to be and why they needed to make this change if they really want to compete for championships in the AFC.
It's an incredibly well given answer. Kurt, I know I need to let you go, but can I squeeze this in here real quick, because they've gotten some pushback about being a team that lets their foot off the gas, and the statistics say their success rate offensively goes down drastically. They're one of the top 5 or so teams in the first half, and they're in the bottom of the NFL in the second half. And I know that some of that comes along with purposefully changing play calls when they build up leads, but they've blown some leads. And, for a second, it looked like it was kind of getting away from them last week in London. Do the Ravens have an issue with taking their foot off the gas they have to improve upon this season?
Yeah, I think every game is different. Every situation is different because, there's no doubt that, when you get up in a game, late in a game, especially when you feel your strength is running the football, that, you want to run the football and you want to take the, clock down and you want to churn out first downs and you physically want to be able to beat people. But yeah, I think you have to develop who you are offensively. And that's first and foremost. And as much as you want to be good at everything, you develop who you are offensively. And then while the game is still in the balance, you play to what you do offensively, no matter what that is. If you're a throw first team, you throw first. Even when, you're up going into the fourth quarter, you still play your game and you play to your strengths because that's how you got there and that's how you win. And so, I think a big part, again, with the Ravens is figuring out what they are offensively. Like, what is their strength right now? What can they hang their hat on? If the pass game's is more clunky and not as efficient across the board, then you probably lean on your run game because that's where you've been more consistent than in the pass game. But again, I just think the bottom line is that if you play the way that you play, and you do that, for the bulk of a game until you get down to those last couple drives where it solely is about managing the clock. Anything before that, I think you play football. And I think the best teams in the league, you see that. Back when Brady and them were good, I mean, they'd be up by 3 touchdowns, and they'd still be playing their game. They wouldn't just be turning around handing the football off. They'd play their game because that's how they got there. That's how they're going to win. And, and I think that's going to be key for the Ravens. But what we have to remember is right now, what is that? What is our game right now? Where are we offensively where we go, okay, we hang our hat on this, and that's when we're going, when they get to that point, that's when we'll be able to kind of answer this question a little bit better is, okay, how are they playing when they get into the late third and fourth quarter if they have a lead? Are they going against what they've done the entire game? Or are they playing to their strengths and just continuing to play football? And then at that point, you have to be efficient and be good at whatever you're doing. But, and again, like I look at the Pittsburgh game, and the Pittsburgh game, they just should have won.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what brand of football they played or what they did down the stretch. I mean, they had 3 passes that were dropped in the end zone that they win that game. Of course, they have the interception at the end. I understand what they were trying to do there, but, an interception in the end zone. They get 3 points there. Maybe they win that game because of that play. And so I think that was less about, hey, what did we do down the stretch, as it was, we didn't execute. We didn't execute when we needed to, even on the other side. Marlon Humphrey one-on-one with George Pickens, and he gives up a big touchdown pass, and they lose the game. So it was more to me about not executing than it was necessarily style or what they did down the stretch. And I think you could say the same against, Indy when you go back and look at that game, and, you could argue about the pass interference and some of the situations of going for it on fourth down, whatever. Yeah. But I think it was more just about lack of execution than I would really put it on changing style, in those moments. It was more about efficiency with what they were doing.
Kurt Warner, I could do this for hours. I truly appreciate it. I always want to ask you every time we talk, is there anything, first things first, anything you're doing on the charity side of things that we can plug for you, because it means the world to see everything that you do to try to help our country?
I mean, I appreciate that. We're doing all kinds of stuff. We've got what we call Warner's Warm-Up. We've been doing it in St. Louis for 20-some years now, where we collect new and gently used coats for those that are in need as it starts to get cold. So, go to kurtwarner.org if you're interested in making a donation or helping us there. We've got another event that we're doing actually next Friday that we call Celebrity Game Nights, for our new foundation in Arizona, Treasure House. So if you're interested, treasurehouse.org. It's a community living facility for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we're just trying to change the world for that group of our community. But always got a million things going on. So follow me on Twitter, Kurt13 Warner, or X, I guess it's called now. Go to kurtwarner.org, go to treasurehouse.org if you're interested in seeing what we got going and helping us out, or if you're in that area, coming out and joining us for the different events and supporting us. We appreciate every bit of it.
And there's going to be a lot of Ravens fans out in Arizona next week. I know that as they're getting ready to face the Cardinals next Sunday. It's going to be a prime road destination this season. Kurt Warner, always a thrill. Thank you for taking the time for us. I truly appreciate it, man.
No problem. Good to talk to you as always.
That's the Hall of Famer, Kurt Warner. And it's an interesting thought, the one that's shared by Femi Ayanbadejo, that part of the problem is the Ravens don't really have an offensive identity yet. And so in the second half, when you say, hey, you want to stay true to your offensive identity and continue to do the things you're doing, well, they don't really know yet what their identity is and what actually works. So that has hurt them in the second half. I don't have an easy answer for it. Like, to me, it's been the dumb guy thing. Hey, they're taking the foot off the gas, and they don't run the ball well enough in order to play bully ball. This isn't the 2019 Ravens. I get it. You would ideally like to hold on to the ball for the entirety of the second half and grind out a win, right? Like, that's an ideal circumstance. And in 2019, They were able to do that overwhelmingly. And then even the seasons that followed, they were still, somewhat capable of doing that. But they're not built to be that team anymore. Kurt Warner's point is you keep running your offense until, like, the last 2 possessions of the game. You don't change it at all. You don't change play calling. You just keep doing your thing. Probably right? Like, that's probably about the time frame, but the issue being, what do we know yet the Ravens consistently do successfully offensively? And that's part of the problem with what they're doing in the second half. So, interesting thoughts from the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner.
Yeah. Listen, it was the one thing that really, I was ready to move on from Greg Roman. Couldn't have told you that much about Todd Monken, but I'm certainly not down on Todd Monken yet. I think this has a lot to do with the fact of how there were so many new pieces to this thing, and they didn't get to really play together in games. Well, I understand it's a double-edged sword of wanting to protect their health, but this is what you get when you protect their health, and your identity hasn't been established.
It feels like 6 weeks in you should have had, like you should be coalescing a little bit more around it. And again, they've dealt with injuries, and I'm trying to be fair to whatever J.K. Dobbins would have brought to this offense had he been healthy this season.
I won't say he's disappeared, but Mark Andrews doesn't even seem like
he's not been the explosive impact guy that, we're used to Mark Andrews being. And the idea was that Mark Andrews was supposed to be more open this season because of all the attention that defenses would have to pay to all these other playmakers. All right, we got to squeeze one more break in. We'll do that. Then we'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit. We'll get tubular, and we will wrap up today's show with segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Jadeveon Clowney. Today's show also brought to you by you know what? I'll tell you about it on the other side. This one's brought to you by Superbook. Superbook also brings you the Tyus Bowser Show. How about that? So I'll tell you more about it when we come back in. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 17th at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports and AJ Michaels. And if you or a loved one have a gambling problem, visit helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
Visit Harford County this fall. Celebrate arts across Harford September 15th through the 30th with dance, theater, music, and visual arts. September 29th through October 1st is the largest Italian festival in Maryland, featuring entertainment, cooking demonstrations, a bocce tournament, and family fun. If you're headed to the Maryland 5-Star, stay and play in Harford County. While you're there, enjoy the scenic views atop the King and Queen seats and experience pumpkin patches, corn mazes, and fall brews along their Harford Libation Trail. For more info, head to visitharford.com. Maryland open.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Stan the Fan Charles, you'll be back on tomorrow morning on the Bat Around, correct?
Yep. I'll be doing something similar to what you did when you interviewed Kurt Warner. I'll probably be out at either driving out to
Fair Hill
or out there.
That is tomorrow morning, 10 to noon, with Paul and Zach, as they'll continue to be talking baseball throughout the course of the off season. Hope you will join them, and Stan and Ross and Luke again Monday on Facebook Live. You can check them out talking baseball there. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
So Joe West, who
Cowboy Joe West.
Yeah, Cowboy Joe West. The reason, I guess, or the reason he'd go into the Hall of Fame, he has umpired the most MLB games all time, 5,460 games umpired by Joe West.
And I think like 5 or 6 of them, he did a pretty good job.
Do you have
how many good calls he made?
Yeah, right.
Would you guys have any clue who else would be atop the list of?
No chance.
No chance.
Jocko Conlon?
He's up there. I saw his name. Where's Jocko? Number 2 on the list is Bill Clem, who umpired across 4 decades, or I guess it was 5 decades, from 1905 to 1941. He's
Harry
right up there.
Wendelstadt.
He's 8th on the list.
Okay.
4,500. Ed Montague has 4,300. He's 13th on the list. Games
also
umpired.
on this list,
Yes.
in this committee.
Where's Jocko? Oh, there's Jocko. Jocko's 41st. Wow, he's pretty low.
For a long time, he was like numero uno. How about Richie Garcia?
No, not Richie Garcia on all-time games umpired.
Kicked him out of the game.
Yeah.
Tim Welke?
Tim Welke. I saw his name. 19th. Tim Welke. Any others before?
Don Denkinger?
Don Denkinger.
Who was the? Oh yeah, Don Denkinger. That's a good one. Who was?
31st.
Who
Don
was
Denkinger.
Who was the umpire that just came out as gay? Wrote a book. Who was doing? We had him on.
Yeah. Oh man. I can't remember his name. I don't think he's gonna be on this list.
My favorite umpire was Steve Phillips. I love Steve Phillips.
His book was called "The Umpire Is Out."
That's
Dale
right.
Scott.
Dale Scott. Yeah. He's not in the top 90. I don't believe.
Okay.
I didn't. I don't think I saw his name.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Now for tidbit, let's do. Okay. So Brandon Pfaadt, right? That's what we're going with.
Pfaadt.
Gosh, I listened to it like
Pfaadt.
3 times.
Yeah.
Brandon Pfaadt. He is the first pitcher in MLB history to allow no runs and no walks in consecutive postseason starts. First time that has ever happened. Do you know who has the most starts of no runs?
Postseason starts.
Yeah.
No runs, no walks.
Bit of a surprising list.
Great. That'll make it easy for us to come up with.
Well, because they're all recent.
All recent.
Like there's no
recent last 20 years.
Correct.
Pedro Martinez.
No, not
Kurt Schilling.
Even more recent.
Kurt
more
Schilling.
recent.
Even more recent.
Roy Halladay.
Not Roy Halladay. There are 7 guys who have done it multiple times. Have had multiple games.
Justin
not
Verlander.
Not Verlander.
Clayton Kershaw.
Not Clayton Kershaw.
Definitely wouldn't have been Kershaw.
Not this year. I understand that.
What is it that they've done? They've had what?
Multiple starts with no runs allowed and no walks.
In a postseason start.
starts. Who've won some of
This
those?
this is
I'm trying to think.
Aaron Nola,
Aaron Nola's only done it once.
Jake Arrieta.
Not multiple times, if ever.
Cool.
A lot of guys. Yeah, there's a ton of guys.
Charlie
Arrieta
Morton.
did it once. Arrieta did it once. I don't see Morton. So.
CC Sabathia.
Not CC Sabathia.
Okay.
All right, I have another one. Do you want to do that instead?
This isn't going well. I know that
How
much.
many
So
are there?
Hang
there's
on.
7 guys. So
Wait.
All right.
Adam Wainwright.
Not Adam Wainwright. One of his teammates is on this list.
Jack Flaherty.
Not Jack Flaherty.
Michael Waka.
Not Michael Waka.
How about
Another
Sandy
Cardinals
Koufax?
pitcher. No.
No, he said it was recent. He said it was all in the last 20
Well,
years.
if you're my age, that's recent.
Is that recent? Sandy
Yeah,
Koufax?
yeah.
Is that where we
How
are?
about I'm trying to think of another
There's-
Atlanta Brave. How about
No, he
Max,
said
There
another.
is-
Max Fried?
Max
Hey,
Fried.
we got one.
The most starts, 3 starts of no runs and no walks. That is the most.
Now there's another
Ready to-
Cardinal. Hang on a second. There's another Cardinal. You
Yes,
said.
there is. Yes.
There's another Cardinal that was on the list. Nicholas.
No, not Mike.
Dakota Hudson.
No, not Dakota Hudson.
Man,
Better Cardinal pitchers from this millennium.
I.
From this millennium.
How far back do we have to go in the millennium? Because
Let's go
I hear
to,
Adam Wainwright's pretty good.
Let's go to. He was with the Cardinals from 04 to 12.
That is pretty
Retired in 12.
Let me look it up. Let me do what I do when I play
4 to
baseball.
12.
We'll get this one, and then I'll give you the rest.
Yeah, this went well. You really nailed it on this one. 4 to 12. Would that be? It's not Wainwright. It's Chris Carpenter.
Chris Carpenter, yes, multiple
All right.
postseason starts. All right, a pitcher from the 1900s.
The Immaculate Grid.
The Blue Jays and
Cardinals, yeah.
From the 1900s, this pitcher is the only one to do it before 2000.
Greg Maddux.
No.
Tom
No,
Glavine.
like,
John
like
Smolka.
literally 1900.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Christy Mathewson.
Sure.
Just about this.
Right.
John,
what happened to recent?
John Lackey. Well, I'm saying he was the only one that wasn't recent. John
He was
Lackey.
a good postseason pitcher, I guess.
Lance McCullers.
Did Josh Beckett do this?
Not Josh Beckett didn't do it.
He
There's
was a
one
good
more that I
postseason
haven't given
pitcher.
you. It is a Dodgers
John
pitcher.
Lester.
Very
Dodgers,
recent.
very
Current
recent. Kenta
Dodgers.
Maeda.
He was hurt this year, so.
Who was hurt this year?
Walker Buehler.
Walker Buehler.
Oh, yeah.
Walker Buehler has 2 starts.
It's a very random list.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's not like we've already gone long, so we can.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want? Do you
I
have
can-
something
I can
else you
save it
want to
for
give
Monday.
us?
I can save it for Monday.
We're not. It's not like we're going to wrap up the show by 12:30 at this
How about
point.
the fight stuff.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about the UFC fight?
Yeah,
You can either tell me about the UFC fight, or you can give me the other piece of your.
All right, then I guess I'll tell you about the UFC
All right,
fights.
fine. Tubular.
Should I hit the?
No, we're not doing that. Tubular is brought to you today by the Baltimore County Police Department. And again, the event is coming up Saturday, October 28th at the Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road. Both a hiring event. If you're thinking about a career with the Baltimore County Police Department, the written test, the agility test, application process, do it all right there. And a community event with a trunk or treat for your kids. Nice, safe environment. Saturday, October 28th. Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or give them a call, 410-887-5542. All right, busy weekend indeed. Maryland 5-star, I would encourage you to get out there. If you can't, you can watch it 2 o'clock today, 1:30 tomorrow and Sunday on MPT. 5 o'clock today for...
Can somebody out of state...
There is a website that you can watch it on. I don't remember what the website is.
Can you find that out for me when we sign off?
I can. Yes, I can do that.
I have somebody who would really like to watch it
got
out
it.
in Colorado.
Fox Sports 1 tonight for Game 5 of the ALCS. Justin Verlander and Jordan Montgomery as it's a pivotal Game 5 with the series now tied up at 2 games apiece. The Rangers try to at least get 1 at home against the Astros. That's at 5 o'clock. TBS for Game 4 in the NLCS, Phillies, Diamondbacks. It's Christopher Sanchez and a bullpen game for the Diamondbacks. Joe Mantiply starts off. Maryland soccer against Indiana tonight at 8:30 on the Big Ten Network. Tomorrow, CBS for Air Force and Navy at noon. Flow Sports, Towson, William and Mary, 3:30. Stevenson's homecoming game sold out, so the only way that you can watch it would be at GoMustangSports.tv as they take on Misericordia at noon. Hopkins at home at 1 o'clock against Ursinus as well. Game 5 of the NLCS tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on TBS. The big college football games, Penn State, Ohio State at noon on Fox. Michigan State, 7:30 on NBC. Duke, Florida State, 7:30 on ABC. And Tennessee, Alabama, 3:30 on CBS. Tomorrow night, pay-per-view for UFC 294. Sell me.
Well, I guess it's not tomorrow. It's 2 p.m.
Oh, it's 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yes,
right.
but it is probably the card of the year in Abu Dhabi. It is Volkanovski, Islam Makhachev 2. They fought in February, and it was a great fight. That Islam just barely edged Volkanovski out, and Volkanovski is the longtime featherweight champion, so he moved up.
Do I remember that you thought there was some controversy to this decision?
Yeah, because Volkanovski just looked better at the end. This is when we got into the talk, and we were like, by rule, the way that you judge rounds, you go round by round.
That's the way it works.
And Islam won more rounds, even though Volkanovski looked so much better and stronger at the end of the fight because he had a really strong fifth round and just looked better. But they'll go back at it. Should be a really, really fun one. The co-main, so it got shooken up about 10 days ago. It was supposed to be Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev, and then Charles had to jump out with an injury. It honestly worked out for the better for them because Charles had already lost to Islam. He just kind of had earned his way back to getting a rematch, but no one was really. We were excited for it because it's lightweight. 155 is probably the deepest division in UFC and MMA. And then Khamzat Chimaev, who was undefeated, he's the one who fought 3 times in a week during Fight Island back during COVID. And so he's still around. He's still really good. He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa, who had to pull out with an injury as well, and in steps Kamaru Usman, who will be fighting at the first time at middleweight, 185. He is the longtime welterweight champion, lost to Leon Edwards. So that fight should be really good. I mean, Khamzat should win. He's a big favorite.
Do you have a bet? Do you have a parlay
yes,
you put together?
I wrote my bets down.
Right.
These odds were based on yesterday when we were preparing them. They did come from Superbook Sports. I like and they have a lot of Russian guys fighting just because Abu Dhabi is close to Russia, so these guys always jump on this card. I mean, it's because they don't like to cross the ocean for the most part. But Ikram Aliskerov, I like him by knockouts. Shara Magomedov, he is making his UFC debut. I also like him by knockout at -110, or you can get him at +210 to just win in the first round, whether it's a submission knockouts. My parlay is Magomed Ankalaev, or no. Sorry, first one will be Magomedov, Shara Magomedov, just money line -280. The Indian fighter Anshul Jubli -300, put him on the money line. And Magomed Ankalaev is also on this card as well. They're the third fight from the top. He's fighting. Why can't I even remember who he's fighting? He's gonna beat them. Shoot, I wrote it. Johnny Walker.
Hey, Johnny Walker Black? Really?
No, I don't think Johnny.
The guy who used to do morning radio in Baltimore, Johnny Walker.
Really interesting that Johnny. What a turn for Johnny
Walker. That's
Walker.
why I think Magomed is going to win rather
makes
easily.
Sense.
But you parlay those three, and you get +130 over at Superbook.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
opportunity to make a little money.
Yeah. So those are
and Griffin hit one of these once.
Oh yeah, I always do.
No, not always.
And Jinyu Fry, she's fighting a Russian fighter, and she's +400. I think she could win if you're feeling
feeling froggy. Feeling froggy. Spring a couple dollars.
+400. The girl she's fighting missed weight a couple hours ago, so she didn't have a great camp. It appears, and I was already liking Fry.
Okay.
So
very good.
Give me some Jinyu Fry at +400.
That's the fight tomorrow afternoon, 2:00 on ESPN.
They start at 10 a.m. So make sure you're up and early.
Make sure. Sunday, Lions Ravens 1:00 on Fox. The local TV game in the afternoon. Chargers Chiefs 4:25 on CBS. Dolphins Eagles Sunday night 8:15 on NBC. That's a good one. Game 6 of the ALCS is at 8:00 Sunday night on FS1. Anything non-sports wise?
Yeah, there are a few things before. So if you go to Maryland5star.us, there's a big How to Watch tab, and so anyone in the area, there's a live link to the live stream on MPT and PBS or whatever. There's also a North America tab on how to watch it. You go to USEF, which I believe is their equestrian network. So yeah, that walks you through how to do it. Non-sports wise, Big Mouth, season 7 on Netflix. There's another new season of Big Mouth, which I was into. Not so
Never
much.
been a thing for me.
Really?
No, just never.
I guess when I was a kid, I guess I was.
I don't know how long it's been around, but sure.
I was a senior in high school.
Let's keep.
Old Dads. This is Bill Burr's movie. This is also.
Oh,
on
I have
Netflix.
heard about
yes,
Old Dads.
where he is an old dad. He became a dad at the I think the old age of 46.
He plays an old. It's called.
I think it's more about it's kind of about
called
his
Old Dads.
Yes,
and he plays an old dad.
What an idea! What a concept!
I
Right?
think it's
what a concept.
pretty much based on like what happened like with his life as well.
Glenn and I are working on a treatment of middle-aged dads.
Yeah, right. Let's see how that goes for me.
There's an Anthony Mackie.
Everybody's
movie.
sharing the clip from the Tyus Bowser Show this week where I got to have my son sitting on my lap because he wouldn't go more than 6 inches away from me on Tuesday night. Really? I'm not kidding. My son, I said, like, would you go sit with Miss Leah? And he was like, yeah. My other son had basketball practice on Tuesday.
That's why I didn't
So
go.
that was the reason?
Yeah,
okay.
I'd heard a rumor.
So
your wife called me.
They've been here.
He
Yeah.
won't sit with anybody but Glenn.
They've been here before, and they know Leah. And so I said, would you go sit with Miss Leah? And he was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. No problem. And then the show's about to start, and he looks around, and there are so many people there, and he's all of a sudden not comfortable any longer. Right. And I'm like, pal, I need you. I got to do the show. And he was not having it. And just had to sit right there on my lap.
Best
at
seat in the
table.
house.
Yeah, he did have the best seat in the house. But it's awkward on the video because you don't see my face asking the questions. You just see my 6-year-old son's face. That's it.
If you were the last, this is a Peacock movie with Anthony Mackie, and it's him and some other astronaut. They're stranded out in space, and they're questioning if people are going to come to save them. And I don't know, it looks a little funny, a little lighthearted, but also a little serious, a little as well. So Anthony Mackie movie.
I like Anthony Mackie, but
and then Bad Bunny is hosting Saturday Night Live.
Right. Yeah, host and musical guest for Saturday Night Live tomorrow night. All right, thanks today to Kurt Warner. Thanks also to Steve Doherty from the Maryland State Athletic Hall of Fame. Thanks to Rodrigo Lopez. Thanks to Bo Smolka. Thanks to Mike Nolan. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh
wow.
My God, it's so good.
What just happened
I was
there?
right now the tweet for.
Yikes. Well done. Stan the Fan, thank you as always, my friend.
Thank you.
Enjoy the 5-star this weekend. Everybody getting out to Fair Hill. I will be with you for Project Game Day after the game on Sunday, and then we'll be back on Monday. I feel like you told me we actually have a guest booked for Monday, and I can't remember who it was.
Tom Rinaldi, who will be
Tom Rinaldi, the man who makes you cry. Tom Rinaldi is doing sidelines. This is the A team for Fox. It's going to be in town. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, Tom Rinaldi with them, and Aaron Andrews, all on that crew. Tom Rinaldi will join us on Monday, and I will try not to cry. Also, Jeremy, of course, on Monday and stuff and things.
I just used Ed Figueroa.
On the grid?
On the grid.
How would it get you?
As a New York Yankee with it's a new category.
Oh?
Under 3.00 ERA season.
Single season? Okay.
Yeah.
What'd it get you?
Got me 0.1%.
Nicely done. Nicely
And then it's got
done.
another new category. Only one team. New York Yankee. I used Phil Rizzuto.
Okay.
2%.
I was going to say everybody will probably use Jeter. Like,
I wonder how much Jeter's worth.
Mattingly would be
Mattingly would be on that. Yep,
Mantle.
100%. Yeah. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, the Maryland 5-Star, Guilford Hall Brewery, A.J. Michaels, Baltimore County Police Department, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Hartford County, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Ravens, go Navy, go Towson, go everybody. Duke sucks. We wrap up today's show and the week with segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Jadeveon Clowney. Back in here for segment number 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show, live from Mother's North Grill and Timonium. Rita and Glenn, Tyus and Jadeveon Clowney. Oktoberfest party this Saturday at Mother's North, and don't forget about the Halloween party as well. I enjoyed the berry salad with some steak tonight. Rita, what'd you have over there?
I had the black and blue salad, and it was phenomenal.
The black and blue salad, no doubt. Everything great here at Mother's North. Appreciate them having us out. All right, Tyus, we know that you've always been a Drake fan.
I have.
we haven't been able to talk since, what was it, 2 Fridays ago? Was when the last record dropped. Give me your thoughts.
I thought it was pretty good. It's one of those albums that you just have to continue to listen to and just get used to. But he got some hits on there. He got some real good, he got some jams on there. I like it.
Guys, I apologize. If I could ask everybody again here, we could do a radio broadcast if we try to keep the noise down. I know we're in a bar. I know we're having fun tonight. Just if we could try to keep the noise down a little bit for the radio, I appreciate it. I like Amen.
Okay, that was a good one.
I like that one a lot.
That was a good one.
I like Virginia Beach.
Okay.
I like that one.
You listen to the album, huh?
I didn't know that. Think about that.
Stand on business, nah.
What about, are you a Drake guy, Jadeveon?
I'm a little bit of everybody. I'm all over the place with music.
Like what? Tell me what you're into.
I mean, most of the art I'm saying when it comes down to music, like J. Cole, Drake, NBA Youngboy, I take it all up and down, like young to old heads. Who you got?
Paul,
Put me on somebody.
We'll get you some local guys.
Even Gunner, I like Gunner's last album. He came back after all that he went through. I think it's probably his coldest album ever. So
we're not yet to the point where
Rod Wave.
The young guys on the team don't look at you like Drake. He's old.
No, they listen to Drake too.
Leaving.
Right?
Nah, they listen to Drake now.
All right.
Everybody listens to Drake. Like, who doesn't listen to Drake?
All right, I feel you.
Yeah.
Did y'all see flag football is now an Olympic sport?
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
Did what's the name try to promote it?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, he's trying to get on the team, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to create and I think Micah Parsons also said he would like to join as well. They're trying to create a super team of sorts.
I don't think he's going to do much rushing the pass in that game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a little different. I don't know about that.
You don't think this would be your world? You don't think that?
I mean, I think I can play receiver in that world.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be good. They'll be surprised.
I think the last time I did that, I was playing, tight end receiver, and I was balling. So, I mean, I think
that'd be fun for me.
Now, wait a second. You want to throw your name in the hat?
Show off my
Why
other
not?
skills.
Why not?
We're starting the campaign right now. Tyus Bowser, LA 28. We're starting that campaign right now.
Hashtag.
Tyus wants on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, you got that athleticism.
I do. I can play offense. Of course, people know I play defense.
Right.
I drop in coverage a lot, so I feel like I do really well. I personally think I'm one of the best coverage outside linebackers in the NFL.
I'm not debating.
So, I mean, I feel like that'll be beneficial, so why not?
I mean,
I think Jadeveon's going to play offense as well. Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going up on somebody. I ain't got to worry about getting hit crazy. I'm going up, wide receiver, something like that. I got a little speed still. I can put a head fake in there every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? Flag, I'll be good in that.
I mean, I don't know how to say it. You would be like 35 by that point.
I don't know then. Yeah, you might be right. That's crazy.
You running the post right? at that point in your life?
I might be blocking. I have to block.
Yeah, these dudes can go until they're 40, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
They got no problem doing that. Who would be on yours? Let's put together. So we know you're on it.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna put. This is like when we do. Who's your 5 for basketball?
Oh,
okay.
Let me see.
By the way, is Jadeveon?
This all the people in the league right now.
Yeah, the guys in the league right now. You put together a fantasy football team.
It's gonna be straight speed. So
a flag football team.
Tyreek Hill. I don't think he's the fastest, craziest speed in the league. I'll take Lamar Jackson.
I mean,
of course, crazy speed. Everybody with the speed and flag. I need you to be able to run. So it'd be him. Let me get. Even though he's in my division, I take Jamar Chase. He got. I know y'all want to hear that. But the guy got hands. He got hands. I respect the game. I know, but we trying to win this thing. I take him because he got hands. That's Devontae Adams.
Okay.
Adams. Yeah, I take Adams.
Who's your running back?
Different show hands.
Who's your running back?
Ooh, that's tough. I don't know, man. I take Christian McCaffrey. He playing good ball right now.
I mean, he's
The way
okay.
he playing, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a good threat. He can run short route, intermediate route. So I think he'll be a good threat out there.
What about like a defensive back that's capable of catching? because they're going to have to play on both sides, right? So who's somebody that you think you could put on the team that could actually catch and play defensive back?
I would say Derwin James.
That's a great one.
I take my boy over him, Hamilton over him.
You
I
said
like Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah, I like.
Okay.
All right.
Cal,
All right.
I
Now
think-
you want
I think
everybody
Cal-
back. Now
I think
everybody's
Cal
ready.
underrated anyway. So
Yeah.
he got range, man. He's 6'4". He like it's crazy. Like he's so rangy out there. Like
You
never,
did
can
you
never-
see the picture that was floating around last week of Wembenyama, by the way?
Nah.
It's like
oh my
absurd.
God, that boy, yeah,
Dude.
he blocked everything.
It's
He barely leaving his
insanity.
feet. He don't
You're like,
even
that does
jump.
not look like a human. Like, what
It's
am I?
not like this long though.
Right.
I think he was
The
like a
one when the
20.
guy he blocked was like 6'11"? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, it's nuts.
And he's like 7'4", right?
He's insane,
I
yo.
think he gonna change the game again. So
I want him on my flag football team, actually, now that I think about it.
throw it up.
I want
Definitely
all-
a red zone threat.
I want all them dudes. We are out here at Mother's. Today's show brought to you by AJ Michaels. What company has the expertise and technology to make your home substantially more energy efficient, comfortable, and even virus-free? It's AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com. I need to know, there was something that happened after the game on Sunday, and I hadn't seen this year.
Okay.
Where did Hip Hip Hooray come from?
I think they had just started.
What is
I
that?
think that was like a Harbs thing.
Yeah,
It was probably just Harbs. Honestly, I don't know.
I think that was a
I don't
London
know.
thing.
But,
I didn't think it came from somebody who was younger than 50 years old. For the record.
probably not.
That's a hard thing.
Yeah,
I was in the
Harbs
bathroom.
was
I didn't
talking
even hear
about
hip hip hooray.
I don't know what was going on.
Y'all going with it though, like.
I mean, we won the game, and that's what he wanted us to do. So, hip hip hooray! You know.
That's usually how I go. You
Yeah.
join in, you just.
Yeah, you just there.
I feel that.
You just there for the moment.
So our English friend here that comes all the time, it is an
a
English
London
saying,
thing.
so that's
Yeah.
why he said hip hip hooray.
Is it really?
That's a London
Yes.
thing.
That's a London thing? All right.
Yeah.
I was thinking. I said.
I
Can
think
you do
that's
it?
what he said.
Can you do it in your accent?
What?
Hip hip hooray. Can you?
Hip hip hooray?
Yeah. Can you do it in your British accent that you gave us earlier?
I don't know if there's hip hip hooray. I don't know. Like, you tried it. I don't even know.
It worked.
Okay.
That worked. I got out of that
Okay.
what I was looking for.
Okay.
You were telling us during the break, there's something else that y'all do after wins. It's called the board.
The who?
The board. With the pictures.
Oh yeah, the board. Yeah.
What is the story behind the board? Because Jadeveon was really not happy.
Yeah. So, in our hallways in the facility, there's pretty much every single win that we had in Ravens history, and each win we come in that Tuesday, and there's 6 pictures that we vote on as a team that we put on the wall, and pretty much those 6 pictures is, pretty significant times throughout the game where it was a great play, a great move, whatever the case may be, and we choose that to see what goes on the board. And this week, the pictures was not really that good. I mean, literally they showed their picture and everybody was like, next picture. Next picture. Boo. So that's how it was in there.
Wow.
It was that's exactly how it was. So one of the guys had a picture of Jadeveon when he had the sack.
Right.
And it looked great. And I'm like, why is that picture not one of the actual pictures that we can vote on, along with Geno and his interception that he had? I was like, man, I think that'll be a good picture to put on the wall. But yeah, I end up texting hard. Let me
Have
see
we
if
gotten an update? Because Tyus officially put in like an inquiry about this picture issue. Uh-oh. Can we share?
Is that Jadeveon?
Oh, he said Meg ain't have it.
He said
Get on
Megan.
What? Hang on a second. What is it?
He said
Can I-
she didn't have it. See, y'all got horrors.
Oh.
Back. He texted
He
back.
said we can add the picture. There we go. There we go.
Win.
This worked out.
It worked out.
This
I'm gonna
worked
talk
out.
to Meg about that. You gonna ask him?
Yeah,
about
we
that.
gotta
What you doing?
talk to her when we get back in the room.
Look
She in our room too.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That worked out. We're going to get Jadeveon up on the wall.
See,
man.
it was a time change for her. She was asleep when she did that. She was tired. I already knew what it was. So I ain't gonna bust her chops too much. I'm just gonna give her a little
Yeah. Megan's done real good for us, so we're gonna give her the benefit of the doubt.
Respect. Shout out to Megan.
Shout out to Megan Rosberg.
I love that. Look at how that worked out.
Hey, asking you shall receive, huh?
All right, so this week, by the way, Tyus Bowser Show, Press Box 105.7, The Fan. Not only a big game, but a big moment with somebody coming back to town this weekend. As this weekend, Terrell Suggs will be recognized in the Ravens Ring of Honor.
Well, that was when the game was physical back when he was playing, huh?
Did you ever have a relationship with Sis at all?
No, I watched them though the whole time, so I was just like a big fan of that defense. Period. It was like that was the hitting time. That was the time football was physical when they had all of them guys. You was like scared to go across the middle. The wide receiver was just scared to catch the ball across. You never had to worry about that because they had Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, and they was taking your heads off back then. He used to wear a little skull mask on. Yeah. Thought he was crazy, really. I didn't. It was scary, but crazy.
And Tyus can confirm he was.
Oh, yeah, he was. He definitely was.
See what I'm saying?
No, but Terrell Suggs, he was a character, man. He had his own personality, and, it was contagious. Everybody, fed into it, and just having his presence, just being the man that he is, it was just amazing to have him around. And, we pretty much, followed him, the way he played, the way he, approached the game on the field and in the classroom, and that's the type of guy that you look up to, that you want to model your game after. So amazing guy, man, amazing player. Blessed to be able to play with this guy for my first 2 years. First sack was I celebrated with him. So I mean,
that's cool. That's cool, man.
That's dope.
Rita and I were both really excited. The last time we were here for a show, remember who was here with us, was Calais.
Yes. Yeah.
And how about that moment?
His 100th sack.
He got it.
Yep.
He came back for that. Go ahead, Calais.
That's good.
That was cool, man.
Yeah.
Big time. That's big time.
Right? That's a hell of a number.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's big time.
Congrats to him. All right. Go ahead.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head, like how far away either one of you guys is?
I'm about too far.
I'm nowhere close.
I got like 80 TFLs though, something crazy.
We got to work on that.
I got like 46. I'm probably
if you get to 100 here, we're gonna make a big deal. 100 TFLs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Like we're gonna make a big deal about that for sure.
I ain't tripping.
That was a dope moment though for Calais.
Yeah, I'm very proud of him. Happy
He dog. I think that was a big moment for him. He'll probably get in the Hall of Fame after all of this said and done. We'll see. You never know. The voting go.
I think he deserves it.
Oh, for sure.
He should. Or a defensive tackle to get 100 sacks over their career. I think that's impressive.
Absolutely.
So he should get a shot at the Hall of Fame if you ask me.
Completely agree. All right, guys. So it's Sunday. You want to talk about it?
It's a big game.
Huge game.
They say we're playing the best team in the National Football League, and I think we at home, so we got to come to play and show them. We need to show up and show out. I don't expect nothing else out the Baltimore Ravens, man, and for us to show up and show out. And I'm looking forward to this game, and I'm preparing well and just trying to get ready to go.
There's a thing that's been going on. Apparently, the Lions fans call themselves, the ones that travel, they call themselves the Blue Wave, I think. So they're going, because now they're fun to watch.
All of a sudden they're good and there's Lion fans.
And so apparently they are, taking over stadiums. So what is it that you guys need from the flock on Sunday's game?
To be present.
Don't sell your tickets to the Lion fans. We know how it go. We do not want to see all that blue in there.
You selling your tickets to the game is wild. You selling your tickets to opponent players is wild to me. That's crazy. I don't think that should ever happen. Yeah, if you're a real Ravens fan.
Get it out there. Be there on Sunday.
Be there.
They've been gone for like 3 weeks, too.
It's been a month, it feels like. It's been a month.
Right?
Exactly. Y'all should want to come and see us play.
Exactly.
I think that's good, man. I think that's good.
Simple as that.
Let's remind everybody, Superbook Sports, use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up. You'll get a same-day first bet match up to $250, win or lose. And remember that if you or a loved one or a trippy has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org. Tyus, love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Great to be out here. Jadeveon, what you did tonight coming out here with one of the biggest crowds we've ever had.
He asked me this morning and got me, man. He got me.
It was tough for me because, everybody was
He
still
know I don't say
jet
no
lagged.
too fast. He put me on the spot this morning. Like, man, you want to come on my show? I'm like, I ain't got nothing else going on.
Big shout out to
Sure, why
Jadeveon
not?
for doing this, man.
Yeah.
Glad to be here with y'all, man. Glad to be here with y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
Our next show, we are not going to be on Halloween because we figure y'all probably have plans. So
Well, I
we're
wasn't going to be here anyway because I'll be coming back from Arizona.
yeah, right? So we're pushing it back.
Yeah, I'm going to the
We'll be back together on Tuesday, November 7th. We will be back at Guilford Hall Brewery, so make sure you come hang out with us for that one. For Rita, for Tyus, for Jadeveon, I'm Glenn. For Press Box and 105.7 The Fan, this has been the Tyus Bowser Show.